Lives, with the studies of two very important books, Empty Lives and A Full Life by the Spirit of Joanna de Angelis, through the mediumship of Divaldo Franco. Our guests will bring several aspects of the meaning of living a full life. Are we living selfishly? Are we compassionate people? This roundtable will be addressing the challenges of living a full life.
Let's introduce Ligia Carvalho, who will be the moderator of this roundtable. Ligia Carvalho is the co-founder, secretary, and coordinator of the Spiritist Education Department and bookstore for the Spiritist Center Divine Light in Newark, New Jersey. She's an active participant in the U.S. Spiritist movement as a speaker. Ligia is a member of the United States Spiritist Federation, serving as their Family, Youth, and Children Spiritist Education Director. Professionally, Ligia is a licensed therapist with more than 15 years of experience working with children and adolescents with behavioral and mental health problems. Welcome, Ligia.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome back. I hope everybody's ready. I know you all had lunch, but this is going to be super exciting. I have 4 wonderful people that I had so much fun and a pleasure working with, and I'm sure you guys are going to have a banquet. The best dessert is yet to come. So we're going to start with Leo. So our friend Leonardo Vieira, he's one of the founders and workers of the Spiritist Society of Baltimore. He has conducted and helped with several works at the Spiritist Society of Baltimore, including study groups, mediumship meetings, and public talks. He has a bachelor's degree in business administration and a master's in management with a specialization in homeland security. Professionally, he works for a major financial institution as a banker. Welcome, Leo. Next up, we have Ligia. Ligia Gouveia is an active worker of the United States Spiritist movement and a board member of the Spiritist Society North Beach, Maryland, since its incorporation in 2009. Currently, she's serving as vice president of the society. Professionally, Ligia manages enterprise applications and holds a bachelor's degree in computer science. Then we have our dear friend Peter Hayes, is a worker at the Spiritist group Love and Light in Newark, New Jersey. So we're neighbors, we're friends. He's also the current outreach director of the United States Spiritist Federation and an active participant in the Tri-State Spiritist Federation. Peter has published several children's books with his wife through their company, Sem Fronteiras Press, and with other publishers in Brazil, Colombia, and the US. Having a long background in theater, he holds an MFA in dramatic writing from NYU and currently works in commercial real estate. Last but not least, our friend Marcia. Marcia Trajano is the president and one of the founders of the Solitude Center for Spiritual Living. She's also one of the co-founders of the Christian Spiritist Community of Atlanta and a former board member of the United States Spiritist Federation. She's a Spiritist for more than 25 years and has participated in giving talks and leading study groups in English and Portuguese. With a master's degree in management of technology and a project management professional certification, Marcia currently works in the field of project management. Welcome, everybody. So, yes, we had so much fun because anybody who has studied the books by Joanna de Angelis know they can be quite profound and enlightening. And they bring so much teaching. And we were laughing at each other all the time about some of the concepts and, just the awakenings. And a lot of times, how do you say that? Pulling of ears, that we had while reading these books. So to begin with, because they are quite extensive and super interesting, I think it would be a good idea for us to get started by having Leo maybe present to us. He's going to talk a little about the differences and the similarities of both books. So we're going to be just talking as, friends here, but we're hoping to give you guys a perspective on what these books offer and what it is that they can provide to us in our path to enlightenment, and most importantly, our path to healing. So Leo, maybe you can talk a little about, how can we compare what is different or similar about both books?
Good. You guys ready for dessert? No, it's interesting, as she said, to not only study these two books, but also study with them as well. It was an amazing time that we had preparing for this, and it's as always, a work of art dealing with the works of Joanna de Angelis, right? It's just an amazing thing. The two books, and if I can try to make this short and direct, which is almost impossible, you have Empty Lives and you have A Full Life. Both books that were written from back to back, 2020 and then 2021 when they were written. They do complement each other in a way, but they're not necessarily for the same group of people, if you will, right? It has similarities. Each book has 30 chapters. Each chapter, Joanna de Angelis comes and opens up with a quote from that chapter that if you're reading the book on a daily basis, as she actually recommends A Full Life, read one chapter each day, you can take that quote and live by it throughout your day. It's an amazing thing. She will do that with both books, right? She will kind of guide us through the issues that we're facing in life right now. The spiritual one that really connects with us or comes and touches our hearts in the physical life. But the book has some difference as well. If we can say this way, the Empty Lives is an amazing book because it touched the heart of us that are in that position in life now that it's like, okay, we have a problem, right? We need to address. We have that drive inside of us that we are facing struggles, right? At least we acknowledge that we have a problem. And there is a really interesting quote that I would like to read just to present this to you. She says that empty lives are the effect of the social accommodations and extreme behaviors that delude the poorly led masses. Much like, when we find ourselves going with the masses because we don't have a purpose, and then we follow everything. We think that everything is okay. And deep inside of us, we say, no, there's more to life than this, right? So it's for those of us who are in that position right now. Now, A Full Life, it takes us to the next step. Now we have a purpose. Now we acknowledge that we have a spiritual life. Now we acknowledge reincarnation, right? And not in the sense only that now we're living a consequence of the past, but that tomorrow will be a consequence of today. So she comes and she tells us, to kind of be courageous, be happy, deal with the struggles of life as if we have the tools in our hands to make a change, right? And again, I would like to also take a passage of this book that she says the following, just so we can connect with the message. It seems as if everything we do, as they did, was pointless, and it makes no sense to insist. We're all tired, right? But she tells in the book Full Life, continue on. Finally, what I would say as well is that her structure, the way she brings the messages, the way she guides us, I think it really begs us to do the same, to learn from her structure on how she's helping us so we can help others as well, right? And it's important that we look into the writing method, the way she brings the explanation. This is something that sometimes we don't pay attention. But if we want to emulate these higher minds in our lives, we have to copy them. It's a good thing, right? If you were to ask, do I have to read this book or that book? No, you can read, we can read Full Life before, but I think as we study together, right, it's nice to study Empty Lives and then move on to A Full Life. 30 chapters each book. You can read a chapter a day, and I guarantee you it will make wonders in your life. Thank you.
Yes, I thought it was interesting you mentioned the writings because my perception was the same with Empty Lives. It seems to so much more focus on what's happening in the world and then how you create the concepts for ourselves. And then when you go into Full Life, we have an understanding who we are and how can we now align ourselves with the message of Spiritism. So how about you guys share what was your experience, reading both books? I don't know, maybe Peter can start for us.
The thing I like about these two books is you can just flip it randomly and pick any quote.
Correct.
There are so many quotes in this book that the thing we quickly realized was maybe we're addressing 1/100th of what's in this book today, because every single line practically you could almost spend a whole several minutes discussing with a group of people. And so I really appreciated the ways in which both books are getting us to really pay attention to who we are in the here and now, and how we're able to find our way through the various challenges that we go through.
So I just wanted to add here, so we talked about 2 books, right? And we're gonna do 1/100th of the content, so 100 more hours, you maybe get to the content, just kidding. But in the fact that you don't have to read the one versus the other, you don't have to even read sequentially in the chapters. So there are messages that are very heartwarming. There are messages that just shifts the ability to help you shift the focus and help you understand if you're going through a problem or not. So it's just really, really rich, very readable. Of all Joanna DeAngelis, I would say those 2 books are probably the most readable. So if you've never done anything with Joanna, starts with those 2.
So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for your kind invitation. I'm here as an apprentice among great friends, great Spiritist workers. Very thankful for this moment. And my contribution today is about empty lives and how this book actually touched my heart and made me reflect about my whole life. You start asking yourself, do I really live a fulfilled life? I'm really going on the right direction. I'm really living what I believe. What is an empty life? It's really a life that is self-centered. It's when we are selfish, we just think about ourselves. We do not look the pains and the sufferings around us and reach out to try to minimize, to give a hand. So I think this invitation on the empty lives, it's really to reflect how can we contribute, have empathy with others, and how we can actually express, compassion, really act, in order to help others diminish the pains and the sufferings. Mm-hmm. So I'm not a psychologist or a health mental professional, but I could read this book and understand the concepts, because when you really have a will to learn and to transform yourself, you can start little by little, a little sentence. Like Leo said, 1 chapter a day, since it's 30 chapters in a month, you can finish the book. But it's not about rushing, it's really about getting this knowledge, these blessings that Joanna brings to us, and really meditate, reflect, and see, okay, how can I apply that? She tells us a lot, to learn about being grateful for every moment in our lives. Not only what we consider good, but also the difficulties, because it helps us learn. And I want to bring a quote about gratitude that says, bless any and every circumstance in which you find yourself, because it is an instrument for your moral elevation. So the idea here is to evolve morally, not only intellectually. We reached great technology and great developments in terms of intelligence, but now we need to learn about love, about compassion, about being grateful in every aspect in our lives, how to deal with our emotions, how to educate our emotions and be better people, better human beings. And I think this is the goal of the empty lives, really make us reflect about this craziness, these materialistic ideas, this idea of illusions, pleasures at each price. So Joanna tells us about the overindulgence to pleasures, to the point of exhaustion, And as we were talking initially before here about losses, the loss of loved ones is not only losing through death, but how about losing a loved one to the drugs, to addictions, or to depression. So these are losses, like the person is alive, but living a life without meaning, without purpose, without joy. And so this book invites us to find this joy of living, and find the reason and purpose to wake up every morning and have the strength and the courage to, to fight and do your best, knowing that we are unique beings and what you can give, I cannot give. So we need to really hold hands, help one another, cooperate, give our best to transform this world, in a better place. So with that, I think we may go to the next one.
Can I add something? And sorry for butting in, but one of the things that I wanted everyone to be reminded, if you have not read the book, is very interesting. And I think Leo mentioned 2020, 2021, or 21. March 11th of 2020. What happened that day?
The pandemic.
World Health Organization recognized coronavirus is COVID-19 is the source of that pandemic, and the world has changed, is still changing, right? Empty Lives was published 2 days before. Is it a coincidence?
Yeah.
Not for Joanna.
And one of the great things that you all mentioned, because like they mentioned, they're not health professionals or mental health. All of them have and we laughed about it because they're like, oh my God, we all have a background in business. How are we going to talk about Joanna? But that's the point. Yes, her books, historically, they are a little more difficult. People find them more challenging because of the concepts they bring. But this one is a different tone. And what makes it special, both of them is, I will say that for me, I think Empty Lives a little more challenging because I think it's more socially focused.
Mm-hmm.
I like more the individually focused, which is A Full Life.
Mm-hmm.
But they're chapter books. So like anybody that has young kids, grandchildren, how do they start off? Chapter books, because you get the concept from page 1 to maybe page 5, and the concept closes. So these books are going to be readable in a sense, and you're going to be able to study and really achieve an understanding because you're going to focus on that chapter. It's not like some of the other books that they build on, but they're like 60, 80, 120 pages. So even if you break down that one chapter over 2 or 3 days, you can really go through it and delve through it. And it becomes a self-healing process. Like it or not, we're talking about COVID. I think it has brought a lot of changes in the acceptance of mental health and support, but there's still a lot of stigma. There's lack of access. Some people don't have insurance or don't have accessibility in their community. This is a self-help book. You can start here. If you have nowhere else to start, I would say start with their Spiritist Center. That's a great place to begin. But this is sort of a more intimate, personal process journey that you can do, and that will take you to a happier ending. Is that great?
Yeah. And I just to give a little bit more of a context. So 2 days before Empty Lives is published, right? And you said it's more about the context. And it's my opinion that it's not by chance that we're as a humanity, as a human race, going through that. And then A Full Life comes in, and we're going to talk. I don't want to do a spoiler on Peter's discussion, but A Full Life comes, and it brings us the nuanced approach, because it's no longer about materialism. So where's Dan, right? Dan talked about put on the lens, and it shifts. Okay, it's no longer a materialistic view of the world and how if we only live a material life, it will lead you to an empty life. But now how do we move into a full life? Right?
One thing Leah mentioned in passing that I want to mention is that these books, I think, invite you to really appreciate every single moment you're experiencing. Because sometimes we go through moments and we think, why is this happening? Why am I doing this? What is the point? Well, there is a point to it.
We may not know it, but there is a point, right? Right. And it's interesting that just going back to Empty Lives, the purpose of the book is to really address, our difficulties, right? Our problems. And the tool that she brings, as presented by our Master Jesus, is solidarity, right? Solidarity to ourselves first, and solidarity to one another. And I'm glad that you brought this perspective, Marcia, that this is right there along with the pandemic, right? And we need it so much. And yet, because we're living it and we're going on, through it, still it's kind of hard, right, for us to see it. So, right here. Well, that's the wrong one.
Let's focus on empty lives a little more, because, like we said, they're very different characteristics. And Leah has already started. You did a good job already, sort of introducing the topic and focusing on gratitude. Can you expand a little more on our study of empty lives and the impact, and then we'll move on to full life later. But let's focus on empty lives a little.
You mentioned about being process these books for self-healing, and I totally agree with that. It was really a session of psychotherapy for myself. A lot of reflections, as I mentioned. And Joanna not only explains the reason behind of these empty lives, but she gives us, ideas to overcome, to really flip from an empty life to a full life. And gratitude is one of the tools. Another one is love, but exercise of love that we have to do. We understand that love may be very far from us still, but if we can already do daily exercises of kindness, we can be a friend to someone, we can smile to someone, we can listen to a problem, in a world that everybody wants to talk and shine, you can really make a difference if you just sit close to someone and listen and just give a hand. And many times you can just be in silence, and say, I know it's difficult, but I'm here for you. You are not alone.
Yeah.
And I think we have to understand that we are all really children of God. No matter how imperfect we are, no matter how many mistakes we did, we are very much loved. And we need to feel this love inside of us, and it starts with ourselves, right? With the process of self-acceptance, the process of self-forgiveness, I am my best version at this moment. I already know what I no longer want to be. I know already a path to follow, right? So now it's up to my own efforts to get there, little by little, knowing that, we are in a community, we have to help one another, but we definitely can get there. And I think it's a very important message for all of us. And I'm very, very thankful that we had the challenge to read, reflect and discuss among us. And I hope you guys can feel, the result of that and be interested to read and study as well.
There's two separate quotes from different one of you guys from the book Empty Lives that maybe we can talk a little about to give context. The first one, actually, that you shared it follows. In order to find inner peace, do not neglect cultivating invigorating thoughts forged in optimism and the joy of living. So what's the relevance? And that goes to any of you. I think in a time where anytime you turn the news, there's so much negativity. It may be partial reality because we know the world's not all negative, but it's hard to overcome that sense of desolation sometimes. Mm-hmm. So how can we cultivate this inner peace and forge thoughts of optimism and joy for living?
Because we have an option on how we choose to react to what we're experiencing. It's not a foregone conclusion that if something happens, we have to be pessimistic about it. Why? Why do we have to be pessimistic? What is the basis of that? So when we start questioning the impulse that we have towards an event that we're experiencing, we can then start to think, well, maybe there are other ways of looking at what is happening.
Trust. Even though you do not understand, you trust that there is a purpose on this pain, on this struggle, on this challenge. There is something for me to learn with that. And once I overcome this moment, I will be stronger, I will be more resilient, I will have more courage to keep going. So I think it's, again, the exercise of little things. So we have to also exercise our faith, our trust in something higher that we call God, that we call Creator, and truly make exercise to be aligned with this source of everything through prayer, through meditation, through moments of silence, because we are in such a fast-paced world that we do not have time for ourselves to really quiet down our minds, our thoughts, being in this solitude moment, to address, okay, here is my problems and how I can actually address and change, and find the strength to overcome.
And I think there's also a parallel to our first lecture this morning, right? Where Jusada talked about the beautiful, by the way, thank you. I need to read the book, but where Philip would go and all he could think was, oh, another pebble. Oh, I got a callus. What do I do? So he really forgot all of it to focus on the trivial, to some, right? Menial types of things. And I think that's the same message that Joanna brings to us. We need to look at the pebble not as something that's going to take away the focus of your life, which is light, right? It is living immaterial life. They're all there.
One thing that I would say as well is that taking back to the law of preservation that we learned with Spiritism, right? The fact that many of our reactions, right, is us mainly saying, I need to protect myself. But we take it to a level that is detrimental to us and to others around us, right? Because we're so focused on that pebble. We're so focused on that pain, forgetting that perhaps many elements, and Joanna DeAngelo talks about this all the time, many other individuals and many other elements in nature, they go through a lot of transformation. And it's harsh, right? If you look at an animal, right, in the wild, and we look at it, it's like, oh my God, what a crazy life. It learns, right? It evolves, and over time becomes a beautiful thing as we are here sitting today. And we take these issues of the past and we keep hitting on it like, I need to defend myself. I need to defend those around me, forgetting that this is a process where if we are to open our lives, right, to be more solidarity, to be more kind, to be more loving, and look at it in the future, where will this project me, right? To have the visionary mind, I think will certainly ease our lives and makes us much happier than we're living nowadays.
Mm-hmm. And I think it closes with the other quote, which actually the director already spoke to, that it was shared by us as a group, that I think it's most beautiful. It says, and it's from Empty Lives, the good is not only an ethical principle, it is also a preventative therapy for all the ills that afflict the human being. So I think it brings down to that. It doesn't matter what we're going through. It doesn't matter the experiences. The more that we give, the more that we love, the more that we seek others, the less our pain. Does that mean that we're not going to have pain? Susanna spoke about at the level we're still, the process of expiation. We're not there yet. So pain is a part of life. But if we share that by loving others and helping others, our pain gets lesser. And I think that's a huge focus of Empty Lives, teaching us to have this more community-like perspective and how to make our environment and our life a more positive one, and not just kind of follow the lead of whatever many times in society. Mm. So we're going to talk a little about full life, and I'm going to have Peter hand it for us, Peter. Talk a little about the challenge of living a full life. We talked about empty lives, but how to keep it going and being positive.
Well, one of the biggest challenges of living a full life is acknowledging that we have challenges in the first place, which I think we touched on, because challenges are unavoidable. Maybe that's obvious, but how many try to avoid challenges? In some ways, we live in a culture now where a lot of people try to avoid responsibility. But in chapter 9 of A Full Life, called Afflictions, it emphasizes that the more we try to avoid challenges, the more we're going to prolong suffering down the road. And another challenge to living a full life is that if we acknowledge we have the challenges, then we're in the middle of a challenge of some kind, and maybe we reach that point where we want to give up in some way. And I'm going to give another example that's a little more extreme, but here it goes. When we were talking in earlier meetings, a book that came up was a book called Man's Search for Meaning, which is by Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl was a Jewish Holocaust survivor and a psychiatrist who spent 3 years in the concentration camps, including Auschwitz. I've seen Auschwitz in person. I went to Majdanek in Poland. And one thing I can say is these places were highly organized in terms of their cruelty and the killing. And the point I'm getting at is that Viktor Frankl, in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, makes the point that one of the things he learned, having survived this ordeal, was that if everything has been taken away from you, if your identity's been stripped, remember, inmates were assigned numbers, they weren't given names anymore. If you can get through all that, then one of the things you start to realize is how you react to a particular situation is key. It's what we were talking about before. Now, what happened to Viktor Frankl is a more extreme example. Hopefully, God, that we don't have to go through anything anywhere near like that. But what about the more day-to-day challenges that we go through? Well, part of the challenge in living a full life is that we begin to understand what's really expected of us. And there's a nice little parable in chapter 10 called Good and Evil, which I want to share with you guys. And it goes like this. A father had, a wealthy father, was trying to decide which of his two sons to give his wealth to. So he says to both sons, I want each of you to take an empty room and fill it up to the maximum in the least expensive way possible. Now, the younger son decided to fill up a room floor to ceiling with hay. The older son went and screwed in a bare light bulb and turned it on and filled the room with light. And the father was deeply moved by this, and the father said to the younger son, you filled the room with darkness, whereas your brother filled the room with light. And I remember feeling, and as I read that, I felt sorry for the son, for the younger brother, for the younger son. Because can you imagine lugging bales of hay into a room and spending what might be hours, all that effort, and all he did was he created darkness. And he had probably good intentions, but he put all that time and effort for that. And meanwhile, the younger brother did something that was just so simple. The younger brother was kind of clinging to a particular mindset, perhaps even literalness, a material mindset. And so this parable is a comment about the material versus the spiritual and our relationship to it. And that is one of the challenges of living a full life, is how do we navigate our relationship with the material? It's not that the material is bad, it isn't, but it is a tool. And we need to understand our relationship to the material and understand also that in choosing a more simpler path, like the light, the older brother turning on the light in the room is like a symbol for the light from within. Do not hide your lamp under a bushel, but rather we kindle the light from within, similar to what has been talked about already, about the idea of through self-awareness, through our efforts that we cultivate light from within. And the more we do that, the more we begin to connect to God's love.
Thank you.
Yes.
So how about you guys share your experience of reading A Full Life and the transformation that it has led, in your insights and personal experiences?
One of the things that I would like to say is that, not taking a personal note, but taking on a personal note, and I think many of us feel the same way reading these two books. In Full Life, especially, I don't know why, but it's like as if John is right in front of you talking to you. And it's like, wait a minute, this is for me? You know, this is happening right now. And
Giving it away to all of
right,
all of us.
exactly, really. But it's interesting because we discussed this, we talked about it in every chapter. You know, I remember when we discussed certain passages as we were bringing it here. You know, some of our highlights and some of the ideas. But it's so personal. It's really talking to each one of us, and it's in that sense, right? We now understand spirituality. We now understand the physical life, the purposes, the meanings, and where are we in this whole thing? And you know, and again, I say it again, as you know, we're doing it, but we're still struggling, right? Because our essence still connected a lot to our materialistic life. You know, in materialistic in different ways, not only really looking at the, you know, what to buy, you know, how much we have or how much we don't have, how we're going to be when we grow old, but to really attach to the body, attach to the necessities of life that, quite frankly, when we go to the other side, as we study, as we embrace Spiritism, it's not going to matter, you know, what we take with us because we're not taking anything. So it really talks to us directly.
Can I add something? And it's unrelated, but related, of course, because it's about the book. But one of the things that Joanna brings a lot, and it's really risen from the empty lives, not the full life, but it's the question, and I'm getting to your answer, Leo, it's the question about technology. So now we're talking about our very current, very real, very material lives and the amazing progress made by technology and the dangers of technology to lead or to detract from a full life. So I think it's very important for us to be very aware, and especially as we mentioned, we joked that by the way, we keep referring to how we studied. We met every Sunday for the past month to talk about those books, and we had a blast. I advise anyone, if you can get a group of people to meet once a week just to go over the chapters, you will have as much fun as we had, I promise you. But in any case, one of the things that it's brought to us is the attention that escapism and technology, boy, I think it's better, Leah, than any drug out there, right? It will take your mind away, and you'll come back. I can imagine. Leo said that he sees Joanna talking to you. I can see Joanna D'Angelo saying, "Oh, another one going away. Come back," and that's something very real for us, right? To see. Let's use our time wisely. Let's commit. I think you mentioned that. Let's commit to our ideals.
It links to that phrase that Leo read at the beginning, you know, about how we're getting so attached. And when we think about, and she talks a lot about technology, but we all know, if you open Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, it's always happy, smiley, good. You know, it's never the challenges. It's never the struggles. It's always the cream of the crop. It's the best of the best. My cell-phone does that. It talks to itself. And they talk a lot about creating an illusion, because then you start seeing everybody else's life at the best of it. And then you go to your own life and you have the struggles. And it creates this illusion where everyone else is better. And it then develops depression, that sense of emptiness, that sense of purpose, that sense of loss. And they talk about being really what it is, an illusion, because nobody's life is what we see out there on Facebook or Instagram or whatever the other, you know, Twitter or whatever we have out there. And kind of coming back to those roots. Would you agree, Leah?
Oh, absolutely. And Joanna talks about the excess of technology.
Yeah.
And this made me a lot of reflection because, you know, I'm on the field of technology and I can see the benefit of technology and how technology can boost progress. But the excess is the problem because you really can lose your spiritual focus. You can, if you are not careful, you can enter in a state of consumerism because it's never enough. You want the latest model, you want the newest brand, and then you can see that, oh, everybody has this one and I don't have yet, you know, so you start comparing yourself and you totally lose your focus. Like Daniel told us, we are not here on vacation. We are not here to accumulate, all these that we buy things that we even do not need. Sometimes we even don't have the time to use, right? And we are on this vortex, on this cycle of buying and consuming just because we see that it's cool, everybody wants. But we have to be very careful not to lose the purpose of our lives, the focus. Yes, we are human beings. We have material needs. We have emotional needs. We need to belong, to be part of groups, but without losing our spiritual focus, because we are spirits, immortal spirits. And Joanna talks a lot about the conflicts, that we have conflicts is exactly the difference between the ego and the self. She says the self is our divine side and the ego is our human side. And our goal is really to align these both and align with the divine laws, so like this we'll be happy. We are going really to reach this state of plenitude, which is developing our whole human potential. So we are not asking everybody to become angels. We are asking everybody to become more human. So I think we lost our humanity. We are very, very, self-centered, individualized, and part because of our own fears. So we need to fight our fears, recognize that, okay, this is part of my animal instinct, but now I have reason, now I have intelligence, now I have emotions, I can develop myself and move another step, So this is
I
what
want
I
to
like
add something. I'm sorry. Can I add something? Because I don't know if anybody could hear what she's saying. She's tying all the points together, right? and it's very interesting because if you have read Kardec, but also Joanna or Carl Jung, they all have the same methodology, point, counterpoint. And the thought that I wanted to bring here is that what are we talking about? Leah just said we need to be humans, bring our humanity. But we are in a Spiritist symposium. What are you talking about? But that's the point counterpoint. That's the point of empty life, full life, right? The opposing polars of the one view, which is we are living a human existence, a material existence. We cannot forget that. But we are spirits. And as such, we need to not lose sight of either one. Go ahead, Peter.
And we live in an era in which there's been a lot of progress in a very short period of time, a lot of intelligence. That's part of our spiritual progress. But we also, as Leah and all of them have been saying, we need to find that balance too. So the message is not technology is bad. It's here. We're going to use it, but how are we going to use it? And how can you interact with technology without losing oneself within it or it becoming an escape?
And I think that there's a quote here, and I love it, how everything just kind of falls into place, that I think ties it all together, that it says, as an heir to the divine light, purify yourself to light up the world, radiating the sublime rays of the blessings of love. And I think that sums it up. We got to live in the world without letting ourselves be consumed by the world. So yes,
Correct.
technology is here and it's super beneficial. It's convenient. Anybody that cooks, sometimes you need a microwave. Just having a microwave, 1, 2, 3, right? Imagine having to put logs. Then we have ovens, we have electricity, we have so many wonderful things. But it's all about how we use it and knowing to balance ourselves. Some people may need technology more. My job doesn't need that much technology, yours does. So it's finding our balance in the world so that we can utilize it. But meanwhile, remember that we are above all spirits, eternal beings, and radiate that light. So with that being said, because we all know we need to, right? Or we should, right? We're best for us. Marcia, how to motivate ourselves to do this job, to do the work of let's improve, let's transform. How?
let's climb that mountain, right?
What a mountain.
Yes, and
Mine
I
is pretty
think
tall.
the issue here is back to basics. What do we know about ourselves? Well, it's we're talking about this ad nauseum today. We are immortal spirits, live this a material life, right? And we need to shift the focus. If we only focus on a material life, we lose the reason why we're here in the first place. But back to perhaps what I was saying earlier, pandemic, post-pandemic, and we're not there yet, right? We're still in the pandemic, but not as difficult as it was perhaps in 2020. But that divisive idea that this struggle that was collective put us to see ourselves in the intimacy, pushed us to go to the intimacy of ourselves, because as gregarious social animals that we are, we were pushed to isolation, right? And that isolation led to many problems, I know, physical health problems, etc. But it's really that pushes to understand that a full life is directly correlated to a commitment. And the word that she uses is a commitment to your inner transformation, to your self-awareness, to want to do good. And Leah mentioned before, gratitude is a great tool, and not just gratitude because, I don't know, because somebody here gave me a piece of bubble gum, right? And it's a material gratitude. Oh, thank you. No, it's gratitude. It's gratitude for the pebble in my sandals. Gratitude for being scared to be here talking to you guys. Gratitude for having to prepare. Gratitude for everything that comes to our lives. So that's just one of the tools. We talked about prayer as well. But with prayer is giving ourselves time to connect, right? Give ourselves time to connect with ourselves first, with the other, and with the divinity. And those are just two of the many tools that she brings to us. But my final words to this question, I'd love to hear more from the panelists here, is the fact that this is fun. This is actually good. Right? The promise here, yes.
Acknowledge it.
The promise here is that we're destined, all of us, to infinite happiness. All of us. All of us. And this is just an amazing promise. So let us be happy.
With the idea, I'm sorry, with the idea of being happy, and you were talking about this, not losing the spiritual focus, and I was thinking about the material one.
Yeah, fix your microphone because I think they're not hearing you.
Okay.
There you go.
And goes back a little bit of what Daniel mentioned about finding joy in life. So finding the small pleasures of life that I think we kind of lost these small pleasures.
Yeah.
A simple conversation, a walk in the park, see the beauty out there, because there's a lot of beauty. It's not only suffering and pain, but there is a lot of beauty out there. And you want to tell us about developing the spirit of service, serving others. Whatever you do, do not do only for yourself. Do to share. Do contribute with your family, friends, society, community. Share. Develop this idea of sharing.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I think it's interesting. You all mentioned overcoming. And there is that one quote, Marcia, that you brought that I think maybe you guys can talk about. Because coming from a mental health perspective, it's not easy. Nobody wants to talk about what hurts the most. Nobody wants to talk about that pebble in the shoe or the issues. And part of it is talking about it, working through it so you can overcome it, right? So one of the quotes is, "The thorn that hurts is placed in the area that it must protect." Can we just as we're coming up soon to our ending, we have a few minutes to talk about this quote that talks about how to motivate ourselves to actually do the work that full life guides us. I don't know, maybe Peter wants to start.
Well, whatever weaknesses we have within ourselves, that's the part of us that gets tested the most until we develop the strength from within to learn how to overcome that, or at least manage it in such a way that we're more at peace with it.
One thing that I would like to add, and I think that for sure it goes back to what Marcia was saying in terms of going back to the basics, right? There's a chapter on the book Full Life that talks about, us asking, what do you want me to do, right? Us asking God, our Master Jesus, what do you want me to do? And it's interesting because it is a passage also explored by Emmanuel on the book Living Spring, where it goes over this passage of the Bible. We can find in Act 9 and Act 22, if I believe if it's correct. In any case, it's us going back to this basics of what do you want me to do? And Joanna de Angelis is very adamant in terms of us persisting, right? We're talking about, the million times that we have to go over the thorns of life, right? And sometimes it's the same one in the same area that hurts. And then we have to ask ourselves, what do you want me to do? When we say ask for ourselves, there are three things that happens, right? First of all, we tend to think that, I'm going to get the best answer ever, right? No, the answer is not going to be, go through the wide door, right? No, go through the narrow door, right? The second thing is that, it's not to look for an answer from our Creator that it's and just sit there and do nothing, right? We have to be active. We have to prepare ourselves. We have to read more. We have to be more in the world in terms of being, helpful to others as well. And then finally, when we come to that moment that we struggle again, is to say, God, what do you want me to do? And I save this, perhaps to the end, because she says the following on this chapter, closing this chapter: may your lips and heart have no other question than this: Jesus, what do you want me to do? And if we were to ask this question every time, we'll obviously get our own answers. But certainly, as we also study, we have many messengers, many helpers, Spiritism in our hands, beautiful tools, beautiful guide and message, especially as, our Master Jesus helping us to answer this question. So this is something that I would like to live in, this idea of going back to the basics, right?
Yes.
Because we're making ourselves open. If we ask God, what do you want me to do? We're making ourselves open to receive some kind of answer rather than trying to micromanage everything we do with our lives.
May I flip the answer? Because we talked about our pain, right? The pain is, the thorn is where it hurts the most. It's there to protect us. The flip to it is, why do I love someone? Could be my child, my parent, my family members, a friend, our quote unquote enemies, right? Whomever. Let's look at that thorn that person is hurting you as the area that he or she needs to protect. It's the vulnerability, the area of vulnerability in that other, that we, as we approach and exercise loving ourselves, loving the other, loving God, we need to understand. So it's that message, which, as we know, it's I would say the main topic of Joanna de Angelis is patience and tolerance as expression of love.
And observing and caring about somebody else.
Yeah.
So obviously the symposium is all about healing and finding the path to rebuilding yourself and finding that peace and harmony. And, you got the non-spiritist resources, whether it's a family friend, a counselor, a therapist, a colleague to talk to. You have Spiritism, and in that you have Joanna's books, these two in particular. You have the Spiritist Center that you can participate. If you're in an area that doesn't have one, today with technology, you have access to these studies, to these, safety talks and conversations. So it's all about really being ready to seek out and be active, because Jesus, our spiritual guides, our guardian angels, they're all waiting. We need to take the step. So now we're going to be concluding, and we'll be focusing a lot of the individual discovery. But in part of the book, Joanna also brings a message not just to people in general, but she brings it to those that work in the Spiritist movement, for those that are in leadership roles. And there's a lot of us here today. So there's a quote that, as your final comments, we have 3 minutes. So guys, close up, reflect on this quote, and all of you being leaders in the Spiritist movement, reflecting on this experience. So she says this, in the chapter of the book, it's entitled, Insist and Persevere. From time to time, diligent workers are assaulted by boredom and fatigue in the constant work on behalf of the good. What is she talking about? We get bored, we get fatigued. So as your closing comments, please reflect on this and feel free to share your own experiences or, your observations.
How many of us, notes before asking, but why everything falls on my plate? There are so many other people that could be helping there, but why it's always me? Because maybe it's your, your responsibility to do that. Of course, we have to share more. We are always looking for more volunteers, more people to help. But normally, when you offer an idea, suddenly you are the owner of the work, right? You have to do. So since you shared a great idea, so now make it happen, And but I think it's part of the commitment to, to spread Spiritism and to live Spiritism in our lives.
Can I answer? I'm dying to answer to this. Because that quote in that paragraph spoke specifically to me, as Leo said. It's like Joan is talking to me right in front of me. And she says that, right? And as you go through the chapter, she says, you're bored, approach it differently. And it's like, wake up, come on, get with it. It's your problem, not the problem of the work, right? If it's boring now, when it was once very exciting, find the new excitement within it. So it's within us to really look at the problem, at the work, whatever that is, very, very precisely in a way to understand your shortcomings as a worker. And so from a Spiritist center, I'm very lucky because I am not bored, Leah, because we just opened our center about 8 months ago. So everything is new and it's exciting. And one day I will say, oh, no, and I'll remember the quote.
It was just commented on. I think it is important in any Spiritist center, especially if you've been around a while and you're doing tasks repetitively, is that sometimes people do get a little burned out, a little tired, and you have to pay attention to one another and maybe check in with that person and try to find out if there's something maybe they could be doing differently, because we all have a variety of different skills and maybe we need to try out different things and utilize them in more creative ways. But the other thing is, in terms of studying, I've read this before. We all know this, that kind of thing. Well, yes, maybe we do, but I'm sure most of you have had this experience if you've studied the codification long enough. You read it one way 5-10 years ago, and now you read it today and go, did I ever read this before? It's like, and it's completely brand new because we are in a different place. And so anytime we encounter something that we could potentially get bored with, as Marcia was saying, think of a different way to look at how to approach
it. If anything, and I piggyback on what you're saying, it's just that the purpose, right? Moving from an empty life status to a full life, right? And I go back to chapter 4 again of the book Full Life, bringing Saul to Paul, right? An empty life to a full life, without a purpose life to a purpose, right? And I think is the idea of rediscovering ourselves, relaunching ourselves. And here again, right, talking about business and the business jargons, right? Restarting yourself, renewing yourself every single time. And this is within ourselves, with who the Leo that I'm talking to right now, or whoever, but also those outside with us, right? Living with us. What am I projecting? What am I doing? I'm being called to change, right? That thorn is, we're pressing that thorn. So I think it's a transformation. And this is the transformation that, as we talked earlier about, that we should take pleasure doing it. It hurts, yes, at first, right? It pushes us out of balance, and here we are, standing, working hard, dealing with the struggles of life, and that's the calling. Moving from an empty life to a full life. Thank you.
And Ligia, allow me to read the last quote. I think it adds to this conversation.
It's a long dessert, people. I told you.
Yes. Some people think Joanna is very difficult to read. Oh, I need to read Joanna with a dictionary close to me. Let's not forget that Joanna is an educator of souls. So she invites us to grow with her as we learn and study. And she says, stay faithful to your commitment to Jesus, who faced the same kind of situation, always persecuted, yet never stopped loving. So this is the invitation to love,
Perfect.
And don't give up.
So that's the bottom line, is finding joy, finding the motivation, and remembering we are definitely not Jesus, so he pushed on much more easily at this stage than we do. Our path is going to be up and down, up and down. And whether you are fighting an individual fight, whether you're struggling at the leadership movement, at your Spiritist center, at a national level, don't be upset for feeling boredom or feeling disillusioned or feeling tired. Recognize it, that means it is the moment to reflect, to change, to think outside the box. It's a moment for growth. Because when we go back to the scroll, which closes it perfectly, what are we working for? I'm not working for fame. I'm not working for power. I'm not working for control. I'm working to learn the message of Jesus Christ through Spiritism, and I'm learning to improve myself. And if I have the privilege to do it through the Spiritist movement, then I have more of a blessing than anything else. So once we recognize the blessing, the opportunity, yes, comes with responsibility. But think of all those people that don't even know about Spiritism, don't even have access to it, and how blessed and fortunate we are. So the more you have, backs to gratitude and joy. And I think that's all that we wish for all of you, that you may find the gratitude, that you may find the joy, and that these books may be yet one more tool to help you do that personal journey and find more happiness. Because happiness, not full happiness, but greater happiness is possible in this lifetime. May you all be blessed. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
What we take with us?
Thank you all the panelists, Leah, Leo, Peter, and Marcia, and also our moderator, Ligia, for these meaningful insights. When I saw that you're going over the books, I thought, oh, this is a good opportunity to get a scoop without need to read them. But now I'm interested in reading the books. If you're like me and you're interested in reading the books, they're for sale here, right?
Yes, use the break time to get them. Yes.
Yeah, you can use they're going to be a coffee break time, so you can go there and get them. And now, let's get ready for a very special moment of the day. Even though our celebration of the United States Spiritist Federation's 25th anniversary starts officially a little later, we feel that it could start right now, and we announce the youth panel presentation. They represent the continuity of the work and how Spiritism is part of everyone's lives, no matter what age. So we have the honor to introduce the moderator of the youth panel, our very own Elaine Stur.
Elaine Stur has been an active participant in the Spiritist movement in Houston, Texas. She's a speaker, coordinator of the youth education, and a board member at Sunrise Spiritist Society of Texas, helping to disseminate the Spiritism in English. Professionally, Elaine has a PhD in biotechnology, and since 2018, she's been working as a cancer researcher at MD Anderson Cancer Center. Today, she will be moderating the youth panel entitled Healing and Regrowth in the Youth Perspective. And to be part of this panel, we ask Rebecca DaSilva, Sophia DeOliveira, and Lara Fortes to come to stage. Thank you all.
Não, chamou todo mundo.
So, good afternoon, everyone. It's really a big pleasure to be here today. So, I guess I have been learning a lot with these young people, and also during this activity was very rich for me as well. And I guess it's really a pleasure to have the chance to participate in this moment. So, and as you guys will see, they have a lot to teach us as well. And that's what we're gonna show to you guys today. So to start with, before give the word to them, I'll talk a little bit why we are doing this work and how important this work it is. So to start with the title, we decided to keep exactly the same title of the whole event, because as healing and regrowth is not just for the adult people, it's also for the young people. We know how much they have been through, not only during the pandemic, but during these years, this being a teenager, how much changes we go through. And I have a question for you guys now. So what do you remember about your adolescence? So, well, I have to say, I guess it's pretty challenging. We know that there are so much emotional changes, body changes, new schools, new friends. Everything is basically new all the time. And sometimes can be a little bit hard to deal with that. Well, of course, some people deal so much better. Some other people has a bit more difficult time. But in fact I don't think no one can say, yes, it was super easy and I don't remember anything, because it is normally challenging. And I just want to bring a little bit about these books called Adolescence and Life from Joana de Angelis and Givaldo. I guess what caught my attention about this, it's because they compare our teenagers, our young people, as like young roses, because they need the sun, they need the nature, they need all the right conditions to blossom. And how beautiful it is. It's not that it's not beautiful when they are just little ones, but how much more they grow, more beauty they can bring out of them. And we know they are full of beautiful stuff. Yes, sometimes we know they can be a little bit complicated, a little bit challenging, but again, it's a phase of life. And it's quite interesting, because other point that caught my attention was that Joana makes very clear that we have to understand them. It can be complicated, it can be difficult, but us as a parents, we have to give support. If we don't give support, they won't become the flowers. We cannot just blame on them to responsibility if we don't give the support that they need. And also, us as a parents, we need to give the chance for be who they are. We cannot just throw our dreams for them to become the person that we want them to be. We have to give space for them to think, to explain themselves, to show what they have inside them, Of course, we have the role to educate, to try to do our best to them, but we also need to give space for them to grow, to show their best every single day. So here, just going to bring quickly some facts for us to understand where these young people are coming from. So not only during the pandemic, but here, highlighting the pandemic. So the pandemic negatively impacted teens' mental health. So in many different aspects. The most easy one to say is the social isolation that we know was very hard for us grown-up people. Imagine for them not seeing their friends, not having the chance to talk or to be close for the people that sometimes are the best people for them to express themselves. Also, some short facts here. We know that nowadays about 1 in 5 young kids, they report feeling depressed. That's a lot for kids. And imagine, 1 in 5, those are the ones that are talking. Imagine the ones that are not talking. So it is something really to think about. Also, 1 in 7 live in poverty. So that's also a lot. And why is interesting to bring also the word, the fact poverty on that? We also know that around 2/3 of the school-age children, they don't have internet. Can you imagine what exactly that means? It's a lot. Because during the pandemic, for example, everything was about internet, study, communicating, and even nowadays. So we all the time we are with our cell phones or texting or for work or for fun. It does not matter what's the way that we find to communicate and to talk with each other. And then imagine 2/3, they don't have it. And of course, to study, because it is really well proven that the education is the most important point to change everything that we are talking about, to change poverty, to help with depression. So education, it's really, really important. And currently we have so many children out of school for many different situations. Some of them, because they live in countries or in places that are so violent that they don't have a school or they cannot get out to go to school. Also, again, poverty. Some of them because they don't have money to buy the material or to go to school, or some of them just really need to work to have food to eat at home. So that's the situation. And this brings me to the fact that we really need to do better to our youngest population. We have to dedicate more of our time. I know we are very busy, but we have to try to listen, to do whatever we can do to help them, to give space for them to grow, to express themselves, because you see, they have a lot to tell. So sometimes it's all you need. And it's very easy for us always to say that phrase that the future of our country or our world, it is in the hands of the youngest. Well, it may be true, but we also have to think, if we don't give the tools for them to become the future of our world or our country, what they can be, we cannot just throw this on them and wait for them tomorrow to be the best person in the world, that are ending the wars or whatever. We need to do our part now. We cannot just let it go. We have to work on that. So now it's a moment of healing. It's a moment of regrowth. And now I will call our young people to talk, to show for you guys their point of views on it. So first, I'd like to invite Rebecca DaSilva. She's a senior at Sherwood High School and will receive her CNA license this year. She's an active in different service clubs and serves as president of the community service organization Helping Hands. She works with autistic children using various forms of therapy at Accessibility Medcare. She has been a member of the Allan Kardec Spiritist Society Maryland's youth group since 2017, where she has learned many new Spiritist teachings. Rebecca?
Okay, so thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I'm Rebecca, and I hope everyone is enjoying the symposium so far. And I just want to bring my perspective in as a 17-year-old Spiritist, and I'm here to express my thoughts on growth and renewal through a teenager's lens. So during the pandemic, we confronted both collective and individual challenges that were completely unexpected, and yet we all still made it here today. So people's work schedules were flipped upside down, social life was essentially cut off, and schools were shut down. Personally, if someone had told me that this chaos would have occurred, I would have an extremely hard time believing it. So I came across a phrase while reading the Gospel According to Spiritism, which offered me some hope during this isolation period. So all that had previously appeared to be an absolute monstrosity on earth will have become explainable, Kardec writes in chapter 14. So this quote is all about giving up control and giving it up to faith, to God. So it's just proving our strength and loyalty to God. It was an opportunity for us to connect with Him. Even though we didn't know what was going on at the time, we still pushed through those hardships. So flexibility and problem solving are some vital skills that were needed during the isolation period. And we are going to continue applying these skills throughout our daily lives because of this pandemic. So God offers us the chance to grow stronger through these impossible situations. And specifically, one of these difficult challenges is climate change. During the pandemic, we learned just how serious of a problem it truly is. As we evolve spiritually, we become more aware of problems that aren't just about us. We become aware of our surroundings, of our environment, and the people in it. As teenagers, we have to face climate change since we are the future. We have made significant improvements to this issue, though. So more awareness is being brought towards environmental concerns like global warming and animal extinction. Many programs like the New York City Carbon Challenge are fighting lower carbon dioxide emission rates. According to the University of Oxford, China decided to ban illegal wildlife trading. So all of these things are just helping to promote biodiversity, and this encourages other countries to do so. We are becoming more evolved, less selfish when we think about our planet. We are thinking about issues that just don't pertain us. We are thinking about the collective, the whole, and the importance of it. So this pandemic encouraged us to heal not just us and not just our friends, our family, but the planet. As spirits, we are realizing the importance of our environment while trying to improve ourselves and the planet. So, yeah. And then we move on to our next slide, which is all about reincarnation. And this is another major issue. Reincarnation is just how we get past these issues. So it's growth and evolution. We're allowed that through reincarnation. So the difficult issues that I have talked about, like climate change, are ways that we can grow. They're chances that we are offered. In Spiritism, reincarnation is viewed as a process of evolving by having various lives. As humans, we all have a spirit, and we will return in order to improve ourselves. We come back to different planets depending on how evolved we are, and the goal is to be as perfect as possible. We view life on Earth as a period of trial and tribulations, so that means that every day on Earth is an opportunity for us to grow. And we can't waste it, just like the other panel was talking about. We have to take every moment and we have to do something with it. We can't just sit around and do nothing. This is our time. It's right now. And we know that life is eternal, and reincarnation offers consolation to us spiritists. And death is just a transition from one planetal phase to the next. Every obstacle, every setback, and every moment of joy is what we learn through these many lessons that we can apply into our daily lives. It takes lots of strength to stick to those basic values that we have, but it's how we can evolve. Where we start learning and growing the most is with our family. Our family is a perfect creation. It's how we develop emotional intelligence. It's where we are given unlimited chances to get better. This tight-knit unit is how we learn over and over and over again. So this quote that I'm about to read is all about the importance of familial and societal ties. So social ties are necessary in order to progress, and social ties are drawn closer by family ties. For this reason, family ties are a law of nature. God has willed that men should learn through them to love one another as brothers. So this is all about the importance of one another. We are given an opportunity to improve, but it's with a family. That is our first step in order to achieve this emotional intelligence that we are seeking. So when we expand our horizons, whether that's going to college or going to a new high school or a new job, we're granted to change we have an opportunity to change every day. So no matter what phase you are in, if you're a teenager or an adult, you get to decide what your mindset will be for that day and all of the ones after that. Your mentality will change depending on the obstacles that you face, but you are the one that apply those values into your life. So overall, we came out stronger from this pandemic, even with the lows and the highs. The determination and the resilience that we collectively gained was incredible. Boundaries were pushed, but humankind pushed back. Coping mechanisms are essential in order to spiritually stabilize yourself, though, during these challenging moments in life. So some examples are listening to podcasts, which is an extremely good source of motivation. You can watch YouTube, like checking out the Spiritist Federation societies. We can learn a bunch of lessons through there. And we all know as teenagers, we have lots of access to social media. So do something good with it, right? Spending time with family is another plus. We can just come closer together, and that's where we learn, right? That's the first step in order to apply that to a bigger society. We have hobbies like reading and exercising, which is a good source of release. And then we have meditation and prayer, which is a good time for self-reflection, and it's where we can get some guidance and overall benefits. So we have overcome so much, but whenever in doubt, we can look at Jesus, who was the most perfect human to come to earth, according to the Spirit's books, and we can follow in his footsteps. So whenever you are lost, always ask back to that question that they referred to, and just keep thinking, what would Jesus want me to do in this moment? And thank you all so much for your time and this amazing opportunity.
Thank you, Rebecca. Now I'd like to invite Sophia DeOliveira. She will be a freshman at Clements High School in Houston, Texas, where she's also planning to participate in the theater and learn the Spanish language. In the future, she hopes to seek a psychology degree. Sophia is involved in the youth group of Sunrise Spiritist Society of Texas and believes that Spiritism has made her a more mature and knowledgeable young woman. Sophia?
Hi, hello. Sorry. Oh, what did that? Oh, sorry. Hi, hello. How are y'all doing? It's such a pleasure to be here. My name is Sophia DeOliveira, and I'll be talking about my speech called Spiritual Medicine, and I'll be talking about how Spiritism can help heal our mental health and why it is so significant. First, I'll introduce myself. Then I'll explain how Spiritism can help with your anxiety, why we commit suicide, and the first step towards help and its resources. Afterwards, I'll talk about how community is extremely important for our mental health, how Spiritism can be a form of help as well. Finally, I will conclude my speech and share my main message. When I was 11 years old, I tried to commit suicide. I had just escaped from an abusive friendship filled with manipulation and bullying, and I had fallen into such a deep depression that life became too much to bear. I tried. But amidst my attempt, I started thinking about what would happen to my family if I died. Would they benefit from my death, or would they blame themselves for my suicide? Would my friends remember me for my fun personality or how I died? And I knew suddenly that suicide wasn't the answer, that I had to get help. So 2 days later, I made a phone call to a lady that would change my life in ways I couldn't even imagine. Of course, there are things that I wish I knew sooner, and there are things I wish could have helped me explain what I was going through and what I continue to go through to this day. Spiritism helps me with that. It gives me the clarity I need. It helped clarify why I wanted to commit suicide in the first place, and how the only person that can save me is, well, me. From the introduction of the Spiritist book, among the causes of insanity, we must also include fear. For instance, fear of the devil has deranged more than a few minds. Spiritism shows the reality of things and thus neutralizes the dreadful effects of exaggerated fear. Spiritism showed me that it can help me with my anxiety. Anxiety, according to anxiety.org, is the mind and body's reaction to stressful, dangerous, or unfamiliar situations. It's the sense of uneasiness, distress, or dread you feel before a significant event. Too much of this uneasiness is not good, especially during situations where there is no real threat. During times of anxiety, people often need to first take a deep breath and recenter themselves, then be reminded about the logical aspect of what they're feeling. Because Allan Kardec was a scientist who codified Spiritism, he used the scientific method to compile all the teachings of the spirits into several books, meaning that Spiritism was compiled by using logic and reasoning. Spiritism is exactly what you need if your unreasonable fears consume your daily life, because it supplies the logic needed to nullify exaggerated fears. Sometimes, though, these feelings can be so overwhelming that logic and reasoning cannot penetrate through them. Therefore, people, like myself, will resort to suicide to escape our immense pain. Question 350. Once deftly united to the body of a child, and therefore no longer able to withdraw, does the spirit sometimes regret the choice it has made? Once incarnate, a spirit cannot regret a choice of which it has no awareness, but it may find the burden to be too heavy, and if it thinks the burden is beyond the strength to endure, it may resort to suicide. For the people who have tried to commit suicide, they feel that this is the solution to their problems, but the opposite is true. People sometimes do not understand that the problems we have are inside of us and inside our spirit. They are the fights that only we go through every day. The situation is not to end our lives. It is to confront and resolve these fights and wars that we battle eternally. This is because only God has the power to take and create lives. And we, only we, have the power to acknowledge in ourselves that we need help. We need to remember that we cannot control other people, but we can control what we do to ourselves. By not contacting help or communicating to others that we are in distress, we are causing our own mental suffering. Question 933. If people are usually the artisans of their material sufferings, are they also the artisans of their mental sufferings? Even more so. Wounding pride, frustrating ambition, adventurous anxieties, envy, jealousy, in short, all the passions comprise the torments of the soul. Can't you understand that with such passions, people create intentional punishments for themselves, and that the earth becomes a true hell for them? By allowing our negative feelings to interfere with our daily lives without addressing them, we are continuously causing our own mental suffering, meaning that we're the only ones who can fix it. The first step to fixing your mental suffering is admitting you have an issue you need to confront. For me, at 11, it was confronting the problem of wanting to use suicide as a way to escape my problems, and why I wanted to escape in the first place. After we first admit our issue and admit that we need help, we need to reach out to resources that can help us get better. There are numerous ways we can help each ourselves after the first step. For teens, the best step for you would be to tell your parents. I know it's very hard, but opening up to your parents is worth it. Making your parents aware opens up more opportunities for you to get help, like therapy that requires payment or medication that you may need to buy. During severe distress, you can call 911, 988, the suicide hotline number, or any of the resources I have listed. You can also contact your school's helpline if there is one. Adults can also use these resources too, because they work for anyone needing help. Mental health is something that involves the entire community, not just you, but your friends, family, and other influential people in your life. You need to work together to achieve the help you need. By telling your support group or the people that you can rely on for support during rough times, they can figure out ways to help you. Just ask if you want to help a loved one going through a challenging time. Ask if they need help and what you can do to help. Sometimes you can be a lot of help. Other times, not so much. One of the universal ways you can help someone is by listening to what they have to say and just being a shoulder to lean on. I want you all to understand that it is okay to not be okay. We are human. We are not yet pure spirits like Jesus, so we are not immune to the distress and negative emotions we will experience in our lifetime. We make mistakes and we feel awful. But if you're thinking about harming yourself or others, if you had a drastic change in your mood or personality, please contact help, because that is when there is an issue we need to confront. Now, how can Spiritism be a form of help? Religion is like a spiritual medicine. It helps promote faith and hope and helps center you into a good mindset. Because Spiritism uses logic to help explain the fundamentals of this religion, it appears reasonable while keeping the faith and hope that other religions promote and sustain, like Christianity and Buddhism. This topic is important because we all deserve a second chance, or multiple chances, at change. I want everyone to acknowledge that they are important, that you matter. And we can all use Spiritism and the various resources around us to light us during our darkest times to heal. Remember to get help when you need it, that you are never alone, and that there are people out there that love you and want you to be alive and stay safe. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope you have a good day.
So good. Thank you so much, Sophia. Now we're going to have Lara Fortes, has recently moved to Georgia, where she is a sophomore at Pope High School. She has been involved in the Spiritist doctrine since birth, and most recently attended the Kardec Spiritist group of Austin in Texas, where she participated in several voluntary activities within the youth and family volunteer group. Lara enjoys swimming for her school swim team, listening to music, and singing. Lara?
Hello. Um, my name is Lara Fortes, and today I will be talking to you about social division in today's society. In the Spirit's book, it asks, are social inequalities part of natural law? And the Spirits answer with no. They are human constructions. Now, let's explore how we can evolve from it during this time for renewal using what we know and have learned about Spiritism and our goal here on Earth. Some of the questions I will be answering today include, what is social division and what causes it? Why is it harmful? Why has it been so prevalent recently? Why is it important to move past it? And how can we improve? Let's start off with what is social division and what causes it. Let's define social division first off. Social divisions are regular patterns of division in society that are associated with membership of particular social groupings, generally in terms of advantages and disadvantages, inequalities, and differences. What causes social division? Although there are many reasons social division occurs, two of the biggest ones would be prejudice and discrimination. Prejudices are preconceived opinions that are not based on reason or actual experience. It allows people to generalize others before getting to know them and can lead to discrimination. Discrimination, on the other hand, is the unjust treatment of different categories of people or things. It divides people by putting them into categories that shouldn't exist in the first place. Who it happens to. Discrimination can happen to anyone, but it mostly happens to those who don't exactly fit the predetermined societal norm of wherever they are. People can face discrimination due to their race, gender, religion, sexuality, and others. These people also tend to be categorized into harmful stereotypes by people with prejudice. It is important to recognize that prejudice and discrimination tend to come hand in hand, and that one often leads to the other. As for the Spiritist perspective, in the Spirit's book, Kardec asks, do racial differences constitute distinct species? And the answer we are given is certainly not. All races make up a single family. This clearly demonstrates that our differences, such as race, aren't meant to divide us. Why is it harmful? Let's look at some of the reasons. Mental health. Social divisions, discrimination, and prejudice can lead to isolation, which can cause a huge strain on someone's mental health. Some of the effects of social isolation include anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, and others. It is also important to note that poor mental health can eventually lead to poor physical health, which is why it's important to recognize and treat both. The youth. Social division is extremely common in today's society, which can and has affected the way younger people view social interactions. Many have developed social anxiety and don't know how to form new relationships, which can lead to poor mental health. As a teenager myself, I have noticed a huge shift in how people socialize and form new relationships. There's now a bigger emphasis on friend groups and being in a clique than there ever was before. This is proof of how the division in our society has spread to Gen Z and greatly hinders our social skills. Society. We as a society have become distant and judgmental of each other. This has caused many disagreements, keeping us from interacting with one another and meeting new people. Humans are social creatures, and we need to interact with each other to feel fully content, which is why this divide between us is so harmful. Why has it been so prevalent recently? Well, for one, we had the pandemic. During the pandemic, we had to stay home and distance ourselves from people, which halted all in-person interactions across the world, causing people to get used to the feeling of being alone and not going out. It also gave people more time to be on different social media platforms, which leads us to social media. Social media has created online spaces where people feel more confident to voice their opinions, especially controversial or discriminatory ones. These social medias also give people so much more reach, allowing their opinions to spread to a broader audience. Both of these things have a large effect on our behaviors today, and although there are other reasons, these are the most prominent ones. In Spiritism, we learn about how we are given challenges by God during our time on earth to allow us to improve and to push us in the right direction. Both the pandemic and social media are good examples of challenges that we have had to go through as evolving spirits. Why is it important to move past it? As we all know, in Spiritism, we learn about how we're all evolving spirits incarnated on earth to improve ourselves and become perfect spirits. In order to reach this perfection, we need to make an effort to move past discrimination and prejudice and move into a world where we are no longer divided because of our differences. How can we improve? As a society, we need to collectively get to a point where we no longer judge people for who they are. This starts by creating awareness. It's important to note that we can both be discriminated against and discriminate against others. It goes both ways. Once we recognize that, we can move on to working towards ending it. Communicate with others. Talk to people and get to know them before forming an opinion on them. I know many people have anxiety when it comes to talking to new people, but sometimes it's like ripping off a Band-Aid. We just have to go for it, and chances are you'll feel a lot better afterwards. Find common interests. When talking to people, try to find things you may have in common. This can help bridge the gap between some differences and allow you to talk comfortably with new people. Create a positive environment. Try not to get too caught up in talking about negative topics. Instead, focus on the good things. Discussing positive subjects can help create a comfortable environment where everyone feels a little more relaxed. At the end of the day, although we on Earth have our differences and they most definitely affect our daily lives, our end goal as spirits remains the same, and that is to evolve and eventually become perfect. I'd like to finish the presentation with a message that the Spirit's book has given to us. Nothing but the laws of God are eternal, but don't you see these inequalities decreasing a little every day? As pride and self-centeredness are gradually eliminated from Earth, social differences will disappear. In time, the only remaining inequality will be that of personal merit. A day will come when you will stop evaluating each other by noble bloodlines and social status, when you realize that it is the rightness of our thoughts and actions that constitutes our true value. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lara. So let's keep this conversation about community. I guess we had some common topics when we were working with this, and some of them were mental health that we talk a lot, and I just could see the last talk that we have here, and I can see that maybe something very common, social media, community, how to ask for help and how to communicate. And sometimes we know our family sometimes can also be going through some difficult moments because the pandemic or whatever it's going on with each family. And we always have this feeling, well, we're just talking, how can we help our family, our group that we are included on?
So I think that first of all, we have to ground ourselves. We have to focus on a small moment. So we're going to focus ourselves on a carpet, for example. We can feel the texture. We can see it with our eyes. So we need to take a deep breath and calm down first before trying to solve any of these large issues. Second of all, we can categorize these issues into short-term and long-term and then do a plan in order for you to successfully solve them. And we have to keep in mind that we cannot change anyone besides ourselves. And if still these issues are too much and your feelings are too much to bear, we always have to rely on a trusted adult. Even if your parents aren't emotionally available there for you, you can reach out to coaches or teachers or anyone like that.
Or friends or
friends,
whoever you feel that you feel comfortable to talk. And it's interesting because this idea of talking, right? It's always bring this idea of the mental health. And maybe it's a little bit because nowadays the communication is so much better and we have more access to doctors and everything. But this topic of mental health sometimes looks, do you guys think it's a bit worse than it was before? How do you see this idea of mental health for your age group?
I mean, social media plays like a huge factor in like mental health, like just
Oh, my bad.
it like plays a huge factor on mental health, especially since the importance, like social importance of social media rises. So it creates these huge standards of what teenagers should look like publicly, physically. And so with these higher standards comes this huge pressure to feel like you need to act this certain way, which can affect teenagers' mental health. Current social and political movements, even current events nowadays, like the pandemic, right? That really affected our mental health because it stopped our social skills. And social movements like, Black Lives Matter, those things affected a certain population. And so that population just felt this more uneasiness about how they are perceived nowadays in society. And I don't believe that it's getting worse. I think it's more like mental health awareness has also been on the rise. So more people are being more aware of what's going on with them mentally.
I think it's becoming less of a stigma to talk about, and more people are gathering the courage to share their experiences just like you. And lots of people can grow from those. So I think it's very good.
Build off of what they've learned. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Mainly this idea of, again, communicating and being out there, I guess is pretty important. And then about something that Lara said during her presentation that I guess was very interesting, that goes back to this idea of the social media. So social media has everything, has the good stuff, has the bad stuff. So, and sometimes even for us, it's really hard to filter because you're always there, you're seeing the bad news, and sometimes we do feel a little bit depressed of seeing everything, the world is going down. That's more or less what we see all the day in social media. But for sure has also the good parts. And sometimes I feel it can make us more united or more divided. So how do you feel that social media is doing this with our society?
Social media allows people a safe space to voice their opinions, which can be incredibly, I don't know if you guys can hear me, which can be incredibly important, especially for people who feel as if they don't have that opportunity in their daily lives. It's also especially important for minority groups to find each other and bond over shared experiences. It really brings people together. Social media, as you said, can be good and bad, as it brings both the good and bad people together. However, I think overall it's a great way to meet new people and initiate good discussions and debates.
Nice. And with all these bad things on social media, where else we can find some hope, some positivity in our days?
So I think that the first step is just looking outside. We are on Earth, we're humans on Earth, and this is only possible because of the exact degree that the Earth is rotating around the sun. So that in itself is positivity in our world. Just by looking outside your window, that's one small step. And you are the first step to changing the world to become more positive. You are the one who can instill positivity that you want to see. You can do it. You can volunteer your time and other activities like that. So you are the first step.
I also think like hanging around like positive people, like friends that lift you up, family that makes you happy, doing things that you love to do can make like yourself more positive.
Yeah, I guess that's a nice point of view, because I guess very often we forget the small stuff. We are sometimes, this happened with me a lot. I'm driving sometimes to go home from work, and then I see that beautiful sunset that sometimes we just forget to pay attention, and it's there every single day. Sometimes we have some clouds there, but it's happening somewhere, We always have some beauty out there, and we just forget to see it. But well, it's easy to say, right? Yeah, let's for the simple stuff, but sometimes we're in such a mental state that we cannot see the beautiful stuff outside there. When we're in this situation, where we can ask for help?
So, like I said in my presentation, the first step is always admitting that you need help. in the first place, because that's like a huge step, just saying like, hey, like I'm not doing so well, I think I need to get better. Like that's a big thing. A lot of people can't do that. And so after you admit you need your help, you talk to someone that you trust. You know, like a trusted adult, especially if you're a kid, is always better. But just even confiding in a friend or in a professional, just someone that you trust in, is really nice. You try to start a conversation with that person, you know, about how they can help you. And if you don't have someone you can trust, or that you don't have a support group, because that's really necessary to get better, you can call helplines or even talk to a lifeline chat, because they give really good resources on how to ask for help.
I think also kind of just looking within yourself can be very helpful with trying to figure out what exactly you're feeling and what exactly is going on with you. And then once you do that, you can go out and ask for more like official help from
Like professional help.
professional help. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And do you think it's easy to ask for help, to not feel
No.
this fear?
Definitely not.
It was not easy for me. No. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of strength to be able to say, hey, I need this help. You know.
And about this fear of speaking up, because as you said, not just about your mental health, but whatever is going on. Sometimes we're talking this morning, for example, about bullying or whatever other topic is going on in the school or wherever you are. So, and sometimes it's hard to go to someone and say, hey, this is happening, or I'm afraid of that, because even with our friends, because, okay, maybe I'm going to be rejected. Maybe these people is going to exclude me for whatever is going on. So, and how can I start to change this feeling? How can I can feel more courage just to go outside there and say, hey, I need help, or whatever is going on?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's important to voice our thoughts on certain subjects, because it's not healthy to hold back on what you're thinking. And you shouldn't be afraid of others rejecting you if you speak up or disagree with a topic. It's as long as you're open to hearing the opinions of others, you should be okay. And as long as you're, how do I say this?
Being respectful.
Yeah.
Like not screaming at someone, you know.
Yeah.
Being good.
Being respectful is important as well, but also as long as your opinion or your thoughts aren't harmful towards anyone else, you shouldn't feel any fear of speaking up if you agree or disagree. That's it.
Yeah, and sometimes this idea of speaking up, we know that people can have different ideas of what you're talking or different understandings of this. And then we can feel that we are pretty much in the same step. We are doing the same mistakes over and over. And sometimes we think or we feel that we are causing maybe suffering because our parents keep repeating the same thing and we keep doing what maybe for them is a mistake. It is or it's not, but we are in that situation. So how can I work myself to change this?
So first is that moment when you wake up. You realize that you have to do something to change that. Like by realizing the struggle, that is half the battle already. So you just need to persevere through it. You need to realize your end goal once more. You need to see, okay, this is my goal and this is what I'm going to do towards it to change it. And we have to keep thinking, repeating to ourselves that all of these issues, all of these things that we are suffering about, they're all here to help us. It might not seem like that in the moment at all, but later on we're going to see how helpful it really was, even though it was challenging.
And this idea of being challenged, sometimes we try to communicate with friends or family, but sometimes we feel it's not enough for whatever reason. Maybe the talking has not really been enough. We're not finding the help that we're expecting to look at. Where should we look if this talking is not enough, if I feel I'm in a situation that I really need something deeper than that?
Well, you know, it's very important to understand that, you know, asking for help does not mean you're weak, does not mean equal that at all. You know, like if you're in school and you need help with an assignment, like, hey teacher, I don't understand this, like no one's gonna look at you and be like, oh, she's weak. Like
No one's going to do that. Why should this be any different? You're just a little confused or stuck about where you are. And, asking for help doesn't mean you're weak.
Yeah, I actually think it's like the opposite. It means you're strong,
means
you're
you guys-
courageous,
yeah.
you're brave enough to speak up and talk about something so scary. That's the complete opposite of being weak.
Exactly. Yeah. And so sometimes when depending on who you talk to or who you say, there'll be different, like legally, there'll be different protocols in place depending on who you tell. It's always so very important to communicate what you believe you need to help you go through what you need through, like your needs and stuff. And I think, because of these certain protocols, there's time people are scared, like, oh, I might get, hospitalized, or, well, that might not be the case. Sometimes if legally, depending, oh, bless you. I just heard that, sorry. Like, depending on, like, who you tell and all the legal protocols in case that may happen, but you always need to know, like, to communicate what you need in the moment. Yeah.
And I think that these moments of vulnerability are when we grow the most. We do not grow if we're just in a continuous pattern over and over, not changing anything. These moments of vulnerability are what make you strong. They are the foundation of growth.
Yeah, we kind of need to break out and say something to be able to evolve.
So it's very clear that we are very different in our needs. Some people, they are more quiet and takes more time. Some people, they just say, bless you for everyone to hear. So everyone has their own type of behavior. And what are the benefits of everyone being different?
Well, there are mostly only benefits to diversity. Different people from different backgrounds bring in new perspectives and cultures, which open us up to new ways of doing and viewing or thinking of things. Because if everyone was the same, I think we've all heard this before, but the world would be so boring. And we wouldn't have as many opportunities to grow and evolve spiritually and emotionally, or in any way we need to grow.
Exactly.
Oh, are you gonna go?
No.
Oh, sorry. Also, like, even like it's been like scientifically proven that diversity makes like the community better. Like, I don't know if you know, there's this guy named
ecosystem.
Yeah, there's this guy named Charles Darwin, and he saw diversity in the ecosystem, and he saw that the more diverse a community was, the longer it sustained, like, through a long time. So literally, diversity makes the community thrive much longer, much better.
Yeah, all these differences just help to challenge our beliefs. Every thought that we have can be challenged by someone else, and that's how we can grow, right?
And all this difference for the mental health situation, like pandemic or whatever other situation, do you think teens and adults, they are affected in different ways?
So I think that they are affected differently. Emotionally, they interpret things differently. We went through the same things, but we were affected differently. So teens, we're more involved with friends and going out, studying hard to get into a good college.
Socializing.
Exactly. So, and while adults, their lives are a bit more structured in a way. So they have bills, they have their 9-to-5 jobs. They go out with their friends, but it's mostly a continuous pattern that they have daily. Teenagers have their hormones raging, right? They have everywhere, all the time, all different moods, every single day, every single moment of the day. And the pandemic just completely threw us off. And while adults were more mature or developed, our development is less in that way biologically. So emotionally, we are less mature also. So the pandemic threw us off.
I think also teenagers, we're in a stage of, it's a very key developmental stage where we use socialization and hanging out with our friends to grow and develop into who we're going to become as adults. So when the pandemic happened and everything just kind of stopped in the middle of our teenage years, it really hindered our social skills
and the way
social
we communicated. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was an interesting question, because actually when we were discussing of the first time, she said, yeah, because adults, they have such a stable life, work 9 to 5, everything. So I said, well, let me tell you something, I have not so good news. Yeah, but so then it's normal to have all these emotional changes all the time. It's not something so abnormal or wrong to feel this way, to have all these feelings going up and down all the time.
No, it's normal, especially if you're a teen. Like what Rebecca said, hormones are all over the place, man. Like it's okay to feel like multiple things at once, like to an extreme, or like multiple things like one after the other at the same time. That's completely fine. It's when it starts to interfere with your daily lives, like when you're not able to get out of bed, when you're not able to eat, to shower, to even go to school or work. That's when it starts to become a problem. And also when it becomes like when it starts to affect your relationships with your family or your friends, you don't go out as much or you don't talk anymore. That's when it becomes a problem that we need to, confront, and then we need to fix.
Yeah, and on that, but also adding to these changes and how we perceive word. So, for example, the cancel culture that we see a lot on social media, right? So it's basically because sometimes we don't accept people to think or to see things different than what we see, right? So, and as good human beings that we are trying to be as spiritists, how we should act in a situation like this? We go to social media, we see something completely opposite, or someone being canceled for one thing that they said. What we should do about it?
Well, it's important for us to keep in mind that everyone is at a different stage of their lives, which definitely impacts their views on certain subjects or situations. And we also have to accept that not everyone will view things the same way as we do, which is completely okay and normal. So I think this whole thing with cancel culture, it can be very toxic. It can be very toxic. And if you are in a situation where you've been canceled, perhaps you just need to reevaluate what you've said to upset a person, and then try to re-explain what you meant to say, because a lot of times it has to do with miscommunication and the way you formulate your sentences and your opinions, and people can take them the wrong way, which can lead to your cancellation.
Also, like cancel culture, it's like, oh, you're canceled. Like that person's never gonna like be able to grow again. Like that's not how life works,
Yeah,
Like when you cancel someone, you're just putting them in that one moment, in that one spot, and you're just like, oh, this is all that person is. Like that's not true. Yeah. People can grow through like different perspectives, and if you can, all you have to do is say, hey, that was not cool what you said, because sometimes it's miscommunication, or maybe they don't understand what they're talking about, or misinformation. So it's very important to not just cancel, to help them go, like help them understand why what they said might have been offensive or might have been a little rude.
Okay. As long as I also think it's important to recognize that as long as someone's opinion doesn't negatively impact another person's life, there really shouldn't be any reason for that person to be canceled. Because everyone can grow and improve on themselves, and when you cancel someone, it kind of marks them for life for like this one thing that they said one time, and it kind of leads us to believe that this person could never change, when that's not true at all.
Exactly. I think it's all about interpretation, right? The person does not know what the other one was trying to say over a couple words on social media. Those words can be interpreted in so many different ways, depending on your mood that day, depending if you had a bad day or a good day. You can interpret that completely different, and that one moment can ruin you. That doesn't make sense, right? It hinders your growth.
Actually, it's kind of a little picky, if you ask me. Sorry.
And you guys are talking a lot about grow. So how can we grow through these situations?
So I think that's a loaded question, right? So I think teenagers gather around a collective issue most of the time, and they hold their front, right? They just really become united over this one problem that they can have a solution to. They're trying to figure it out and keep everyone motivated. I think as a Gen Z, as a society, like as a generation, right?
I think issues tend to bring us together, and then we can collectively grow as a group and discussing things with each other.
And this growth, makes us less selfish, right? We see one another. We see us as a society. We can open our eyes and not just focus about, oh, what does my hair look like? Or, oh, my shoes, or whatever. We think about the real issues in life, and we can do that through a generation.
Yeah. But it's also important to keep in mind that discussing or not canceling or whatever this growing through the situation, it does not mean that we have to agree with everything. We have the right to disagree as well. So how can we disagree with whatever we see, social media, school, whatever group you're part of, without being disrespectful?
It has a lot to do with what you're disagreeing with. If you and another person are having a civil debate over a topic, then I don't think you are being disrespectful at all, but rather you're just voicing your own opinion. And I think I said this earlier, but if your opinion is just blatant hate and goes against something like a basic human right, then that's where you cross the line. But if it's anything other than that, you shouldn't feel any fear of being disrespectful just for voicing what you believe.
Yeah, disagreement is vital, I think, in our society.
It helps us grow.
Yeah, it enables us to grow. If everyone agreed with everything, just like I said earlier, there is no change that is possible. And the whole reason that we are here, that reincarnation exists, is for disagreement. It's for us to be challenged in life.
Discuss and debate things. Because diversity, just like us as humans, diversity is important, but not only in our physical form, but also with our thoughts and our beliefs. If we all just believe the same thing, then we would again not have as many opportunities to evolve.
Exactly.
I think it's like when you're disagreeing with someone, I think you should also like watch your tone and your body language, because like you said, if you're having like a civil argument or a civil disagreement and the other person just starts screaming at you, red in the face, finger pointing, like that's not civil anymore. Like if they start threatening violence, like that's not okay. Like you need to calm down and go to the room next door and take a breather, you know? It does matter a lot. Like, yes, it matters, especially what you're saying, but it also matters how you deliver it. Yeah, and how you express it.
Yeah, it looks like the words is a lot for everyone, no matter really the age, has a lot that's going on all the time. And I guess it's normal. Sometimes you wake up and feel a little bit depressed, a little bit sad about what's going on. And so for us to finalize, because our time is up actually. So if I'm a little bit depressing or I'm not really satisfied, and sometimes I don't know if I'm really able to manage things by myself, how can I be sure if I need help or which type of help do I need?
You know, like I said, mood changes are completely normal, especially if you're a teenager or you're a young adult. You know, being sad is okay for like, you know, short periods of time, being anxious, being scared, being angry. But it's when it becomes for long periods of time and when it starts to really interfere with how we are. You know, if you're depressed for more than like a week and a half, you know, that might be a problem. That might be an issue that you might not be able to handle by yourself, that you might need to go to a professional for. And, you know, especially if you're having thoughts about dying or death or really harmful thoughts, those things can sometimes like spiral out of control and terrible things can happen, especially if you're having thoughts about harming someone else. You know, you should always tell someone you trust, like a trusted adult or a professional, if you're having these thoughts, because it's really important that we keep these under control so it doesn't become into a situation that we will later regret or feel extreme remorse for causing.
Yeah, I agree with you. So being vulnerable in these moments is what grants us the opportunity to keep going, right? If we get help, if we seek help, we can achieve the greatest that we can be, right? We can keep using all of our time wisely and keep pushing through.
Yeah, it's very hard to reach your full potential all on your own. We need to
Work together.
work together
Branch out.
to grow.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been saying grow a lot, but
Yeah.
it's true.
It's
It's
true.
our whole point of
It's our
being
topic,
here.
so we're fine.
Yeah.
Well, really, it was a really great pleasure to work with you, and I learned a lot, and I'm sure you guys also saw a little bit what these young people are able to do. So thank you so much, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you for listening to us.
You're out now.
I'm really impressed. And
Was
proud
I
of
lying?
this
Should be. Well, Elaine, thank you very much for moderating this wonderful panel. Thank you to Rebecca, Sophia, and Lara for sharing your personal insights, your perspectives, and mainly this courageous testimony that help us to heal ourselves in the community. Now I have a question here. Do you think that Spiritism teachings is going to be in good hands in the future?
Yes.
All right, it's our 30 minutes for coffee break.
Actually, 22. Please be back at 4:30.
Yeah, I have to be back sharply at 4:30, and the books are still open. I think it's the last opportunity. Let's get back 4:30 sharply for more good stuff to come.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Well, we cannot compete with those kids. I apologize. But it's definitely a pleasure to be here and to have you guys. Some others are still having coffee, apparently, but we'll get started. We are representing the board, the current board, but also everyone who have been working very hard even before the foundation of the United States Spiritist Federation. All this group of people have really made this team work, and we are now really a much bigger entity internationally. Jussara represents also the International Spiritist Council as the General Secretary. So we are very involved, the United States, in the world, in the international community. And it's really great that we are together with people that make a huge difference and taking this news, taking this opportunity to other people to get to know not only the beliefs, the set of beliefs, but especially to change our way of living. And that is what the symposium that we are so pleased to be part of represent, because it is the time for renewal. It's a wake-up call for all of us. And so let's take and keep going on this message. And it's a blessing. I feel really blessed to have the 25th anniversary of the United States Spiritist Federation being celebrated here in Texas, that I call my home. Now have been my home for 22 years. So very nice that we are all here. Jussara.
Well, it's our silver anniversary, so it's quite special, as you can imagine. I'm sure that when the founders of the United States Spiritist Council at the time, today Spiritist Federation, this was the dream. This was the idea of making an organization that could last and that could made an impact in the American soil. So there are some of them that are still with us, some of them that have departed already. They are in our hearts and receive our gratitude. And there has been so much work done. And the different phases to put together all the, the administrative issues, the paperwork, to believe in the dream, and then to try to establish this dream. Them has been our policy for at least the past 15 years to make it really inviting to the American community. So there's so much that has been done in terms of initiatives to publish books by so many publisher houses and courses. And we have news for you. Next year, we are going to continue with our course like we started this year, the initiation into Spiritism. Next year, we're going to be having the mediumship one, the basics. So it's a lot, but we have a special thing that our friend Daniel Santos prepared for us. So instead of just talking about each and every one and all these people that made a difference throughout this 25 years, we will invite you to watch this video and enjoy. Enjoy.
November 2022, the United States Spiritist Federation is celebrating its 25th anniversary. Today, with 52 affiliated members and more than 100 Spiritist centers representing 26 U.S. states, the United States Spiritist Federation, or USSF, continues promoting the union of the U.S. Spiritist organizations and fortifying the Spiritist movement in this country. The collaborative work with many of these organizations has touched so many, providing both knowledge and consolation, intellect and heart. And what a perfect time in history to spread the teachings of Spiritism. Technology has provided us the means to be everywhere to spread the good news. On the USSF YouTube channel, there is a playlist of more than 120 live streams on different Spiritist topics, and a complete course on initiation into Spiritism that everyone can watch at their own pace. Plus, on our website, you can find tons of online materials and different resources for individuals and groups, a repository of talks, brochures, posters, and much more, thanks to the continuous collaboration with Spiritists from the whole country. Over the last 25 years, the USSF has realized the importance of gathering our community together in a full day dedicated to learning. And 16 years ago, the first annual symposium took place in Baltimore, Maryland. Since then, every year in a different city and state, the symposium has furthered its mission to explore real-life themes in the light of Spiritism, taking life to a whole new level of self-awareness and purpose. This national event brings together Spiritists from the whole country. It is an encounter of souls, a family meeting. Talking about family, there is always special attention towards the family unit, childhood, and youths. Lots of support has been given to the organizations and state federations in specific youth events, family retreats, Spiritist educators' workshops, plus the translations of children's books. In these past years, we've had the joy of counting on the participation of teens and young adults as speakers in main events such as the Spiritist Symposia. Learning about Spiritism requires solid foundations in great Spiritist literature. The USSF publisher has had the mission to choose the titles, keep the integrity of the doctrinal teachings, and the quality of the work. Now, in partnership with the International Spiritist Council, the USSF has all the books of the codification available, and an array of titles and authors that are the pillars of the codification. In addition to the USSF publisher, we count on the FEB publisher, Liao publisher, and the Spiritist Alliance for Books for this precious groundwork for the dissemination of Spiritism in English. There is currently a variety of more than 160 Spiritist book titles published in English and available to the public. This work of love and dedication is a result of many efforts and continues to add to its solid foundation. Behind the Spiritist work we see happening today is the history of how Spiritism came to be, and let us talk a little bit more about that. We go back to March 31st, 1848, when Andrew Jackson Davis felt the spiritual revolution that was about to happen with the Fox sisters in Hydesville, New York, denoting the appearance of these spiritual phenomena that started modern spiritualism in the U.S. The impact of that movement would not be confined to America. On April 18, 1857, Allan Kardec, the pen name of Professor Hippolyte Léon Denisard Rival, launched the results of years of systematic research on the spirit phenomenon with the publication of The Spirit's Book, the first of the 5 books of the Spiritist codification. A whole body of logical knowledge about the immortality of the spirit and life after death rapidly spread around the world. And eventually, at the beginning of the 1920s, Spiritism started making its way back to the US, now supported by the Spirit's teachings. During the last century, the expansion of the Spiritist movement increased considerably throughout other countries, forcing the need of national organizations and federations. And on November 28, 1992, in Madrid, Spain, the International Spiritist Council was founded. It is the international body for the followers of the movement started by Allan Kardec in the middle of the 1800s, with the aim to promote, disseminate, and study its scientific, philosophical, and religious aspects. Then, 5 years later, on November 15th, 1997, following the international initiative, the United States Spiritist Council, currently called United States Spiritist Federation, was founded in Bethesda, Maryland, with the participation of several Spiritist friends. Among the people present in the foundation of this organization, Eli Hayes, Dante Labate, Norma Guimarães Hope, Maria Emilia Cisneiro, Luis Rivadeneira, Nestor Mazotti, Vanderlei Marx, Raul Teixeira, Benjamin Rodrigues, Celso Loredo, Zaida Knight, Marcia Higonati, Sonia Doi, Marcelo Almeida, and many others. Since its foundation 25 years ago, many Spiritist friends have served on the board of the United States Spiritist Federation. We thank everyone who has been part of this journey. Each and every one has contributed to what the USSF is today and all the accomplishments described. Every work in progress continues bearing the seed that all of you have planted, cultivated, and continue to support. We are not only talking about the individuals, but also Spiritist organizations and the state Spiritist federations, such as Florida, California, Maryland, and the tri-state areas that encompass New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. We continue to cultivate the seeds already planted. Thank you all who have been sharing this responsibility of promoting the study, dissemination, and practice of Spiritism throughout the United States. Let's make our individual and planetary spiritual conquest possible, and let's keep on going united for the next 25 years.
Involved, and obviously would love to have everyone. We invited everyone that you saw, and during this time and from the beginning. Some are already, in the spiritual realm, so that would be maybe they're around and we just don't see them. But anyway, we wish we could, and we have some friends here we'll shortly have the pleasure to see. But we know that this work involves a lot of people. And as simple as, one event, we have really, really the pleasure to thank over 75 volunteers that have been working for months, to make this symposium only to be able to happen and give everyone a little bit of comfort and teachings. And of course, it goes with the sharing our friendship. That one is an easy one, right? So it's very nice. We have always the collaboration, as you saw, not only obviously for the events like this, but everything that we do. You saw a lot of things that you can find in the website and all the resources and the courses. And you mentioned a bunch of things that we know, we count not only with, we couldn't do it alone. We always count with all the people throughout, all over the country. So it's a time that we should really thank everyone. And that's the idea, right? Go ahead.
Okay, so
Susana.
not only thanking everyone, but also remember everyone that has been an active part and inspiration for us to put together all this work, for the founders, as we said, and we will have. We will be showing to you now a video of someone very dear to our hearts, and actually one person that has been an inspiration for us till this day, which is Raul Teixeira. Raul Teixeira is French, a well-known spiritist and speaker in Brazil and abroad. Even now, his known words, he speaks louder than words, and he has been participating in the Spiritist movement in over 45 countries and has psychographed over 50 books. So let's hear his message for us.
Meus amigos, quero abraçá-los nesse dia. 25 anos da nossa Federação Espírita. Lembro-me do Vanderlei. Lembro-me que esses amigos do plano espiritual foram os mensageiros de Jesus para que essa federação pudesse sair do papel para a prática do movimento espírita americano. Essa federação fez de tudo para fazer que o mundo espiritual pudesse chamar os confrades de boa vontade para fazer um pacto evangélico para o Espiritismo. 25 anos de lutas, de fraternidade, de assistência aos centros espíritas. Por isso, quero abraçá-los com muito carinho. Quero abraçá-los com muita felicidade, porque lembro-me da manhã do sábado que o Divaldo Pereira Franco ditou a memorável palestra para a inauguração da nossa federação. quero, através da Tânia, quero abraçá-los. Que Jesus possa manter a federação no sol da verdadeira vida. Se Ele é o sol das nossas vidas, quero pedir a Ele forças, muitas forças, coragem para a federação. Que Kardec seja louvado nos estudos. Meus amigos, a saga espírita pede estudo espírita, pede estudo da codificação, pede disciplina, disciplina, disciplina. Quero pedir a Jesus por vocês. Muito obrigado, meus amigos. Estou muito feliz em fazer parte dessa família norte-americana espírita. Muito obrigado, meus amigos. Assim seja.
It's the time that we would like to call to the stage now all of the representatives of the United States Spiritist Federation that have been dedicating themselves throughout the years to make all this work possible and working in their areas, in their federations, state federations, Spiritist centers, whatever they are placed, that have been contributing to make a difference in this country, and especially to, bring more light, enlightenment, love, and everything. But before we call the living ones, let's think. Let us think about, Valley Marx and all the work that he did, and being before the United States Spiritist Federation for so many years. Let us think about Deborah Cordeiro, that has also given their possibilities and work, so dedicated work to us. Abraham, also from the Florida state, that has stayed with us, and Elsa D'Agosto. They have been back to the spirit realm, and I'm sure they are following us, and they are cheering for all the work we are doing now. Now they are supposedly on vacation, since the hard time is here, where we have to climb the mountain, to go to the summit. So let's call Marcelo Neto. Yeah, you're the first. Yes, to the stage. Glaucio Pessoa. Marcia Trajano. Fernanda Wenskowski. Susana Simões. Fernanda Silveira. José Antônio Vilera. Daniel Santos. Daniela Couto. Ligia Carvalho. Laura Crisostomo. Peter Hayes.
Okay, we see some wonderful friends who couldn't make it, and it's very special that I'm honored, because we've been working together with this group of people. I haven't met personally, some of the people from the foundation time, but we've been continuing all together here, not only because it's not the current board, everybody right now, but it is the current because we work together all the time. Everyone here, and many that are not here officially, but everyone. It has been really a very special time and years that we've been working. And we invite everyone to continue working with us. We are just here because we decided that it's important to do, to disseminate the Spiritism, the message, and everything that it causes us to really work until 3 o'clock in the morning, right? Nobody does that. But there is room for everyone to contribute. There is room from everyone in all different manners to be part of this team. So we, on behalf of the current board of directors, we thank all of you, and those who could not make it. But guess what? We have some of those friends, especially from a little bit older times, that send messages to us. And so we want to all, be celebrated, present here in the spiritual realm, and the ones that are watching us from home, and all of us here together. So let's watch now. Was I supposed to say that? Or you? Ooh. Yeah, we are going to sit down. Okay, we need Daniel, who is there taking care. We'll sit so we watch comfortably. Thank you so much. A round of applause to everybody, to all of us. Thank you. And whenever you're ready, we're going to watch some more messages. We are going to have a lot of messages.
Hi everyone, my name is Ili Rees and I was the secretary for the United States Spiritist Council from the day of its inception in 1997 until the year 2009. In fact, this event brings back memories of that day, November 15th, when, steered by Vanderlei Marques and Benjamin Rodrigues Barreira, and with the support of Nestor Mazotti, who was then FAB's president, and our esteemed Raul Teixeira, the organization marked its official presence on American soil. Like any newborn, it certainly went through its growing pains, but having reached adulthood, it continues now to be mindful of its responsibilities in a world undergoing its own painful transition, a world in need of a compass that will lead it to its glorious future among the many mansions in our Father's house. To the United States Spiritist Federation, congratulations on your silver anniversary, along with my warmest greetings to the participants and also the Federation's leadership.
Hello, my dear friends. My name is Marcia Rigonati, and I was part of the American Spiritist Federation as Vice President 25 years ago when it was founded for a duration of 8 years. I am very honored and happy to be able to participate in this event, even if it's remotely. Those of us who are part of the inauguration of this federation feel very proud to be here together with our brothers and sisters who are so dedicated to the American Spiritist movement. The late Vanderlei Marques, who was our president and founder at the time, together with Benjamin Rodrigues and other colleagues, created this federation, which now, years later, stands strong and continues growing, thanks to all of the members who have taken on the responsibility of expanding the Spiritist movement here in the United States. I have many fond memories of our meetings in Washington at the home of our dear Vanderlei. He and his wife Eliana would always receive us with such a warmth and hospitality. After the events, Eliana would be waiting for us with a delicious meal, and then we would stay at the table listening to stories from Divaldo and Raul Teixeira in a fun and joyful atmosphere. I would like to congratulate the American Spiritist Federation for its 25th anniversary and give my deepest thanks for the wonderful work they continue to do. I hope that our beloved doctrine can continue to spread throughout the planet and continue to bring light through more meetups and seminars. Here's to another 25 years of hard work and learning.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the Spiritist Symposium. I'm glad that I was given the opportunity to say a few words. I had the privilege of being present at the foundation of this organization that was first named US Spiritist Council. The vision of creating a unifying Spiritist organization in the US was fomented by Mr. Vanderlei Marques and a group of enthusiastic Spiritist workers. The proposal received great impulse with the encouragement and support from Mr. Nestor Mazzotti, who at the time was the vice president of the Brazilian Spiritist Federation, and also from the renowned Spiritist speaker, Professor Raul Teixeira. Then, with adhesion of members from Spiritist centers across the US, the idea gained momentum. A laborious groundwork was put together with passion and excitement by the organizing team to build a solid foundation. And from there, the Federation expanded and grew in so many ways through the hands of tireless and dedicated workers to what we know today. So it is with great joy and gratitude that I join you all to congratulate the U.S. Spiritist Federation, its past and current board members, for the great achievements over these past 25 years of hard work, uniting Spiritist centers and bringing together the Spiritist community in this country. Cheers.
Hello, my dear friends of Spiritist Journey. It is joy that I send this message to congratulate you for this work that began 25 years ago, and by the goodwill, effort, and faith of each one of you has respected and valued its creation. I'm very grateful to be a part of its foundation and stayed on the board of directors for 13 years. With all those beloved friends, some of them today are in the spiritual world. I hope that you continue to serve its cause with Christ, and posterity can join to its field of work for construction of a better times to come. Thank you very much. Many, many blessings to all of you. With love, Norma Guimarães Hoppe.
Hello, my friends of the United States Spiritist Federation. I'm here to congratulate you all, the board of directors, for this important celebration and the great work of unification and dissemination of Spiritism in the United States in the local language, English. This work, I know, is very hard, but much needed and important and rewarding. 25 years ago, the very day of the foundation, I was there, present with the founders at that very moment. And today, I'm here with you, the ones who carried it on. I'm deeply honored and happy to close this circle, help hosting the symposium here in Houston, and celebrating the 25th anniversary here with you, my dear friends. I share this joy with you. Congratulations.
May Kardec's always current recommendation of work, solidarity, and tolerance continue to be the banner under which the Federation and all of us Spiritists continue to carry out this mission of spiritual enlightenment in this country. And so be it.
Okay, lots of emotion here. Yeah, well, it's great to celebrate what has been done, and life goes on, even here, right? And we do have a lot to do, right? I kept looking at those balloons, and they keep moving, right? They keep turning, and I kept thinking, 25, 52, 25, 52, right? So hopefully, when we celebrate the 52nd anniversary, I don't know if we'll be here. We'll be here somehow. But anyway, so we still continue. And nobody better than our friend. Can I say? Or you want to say it?
I'm going to say something.
Okay, sorry. Hold on.
I just wanted to share a thought with you, to see how much the spirits are present in each and everything that we are doing, especially when we are talking about spiritual endeavors. We have to think about the foundation of the United States Spiritist Council Federation. And if you're wondering why we are saying council and federation, it's because today we are already 5 federations in the U.S. So we hope to be even more, and that's why, thinking about that, we change the terminology to accommodate better. But the United States Spiritist Council was founded in the city of Bethesda. Bethesda, we recall from the New Testament, is the place where they had like a pool where people who were very ill would gather together, wishing to become healed, wishing to become whole. And we all know about this man, 34 years, suffering from, the lack of movement, not being impaired, waiting for the possibility of the angel of Bethesda to move those waters and to provide healing. So in my simple way of thinking and connecting with the spirit benefactors, I think the Bethesda for us means that the Bethesda was the moment where we all were scattered around this country and other countries, because we came here later, some of us, where there was this pull, there was this energy, there was this angel, the spirits that were longing to promote the dissemination of this message. Much more simple, much more, speaking directly to all of us, because it's not about rituals, it's not about do's and don'ts, but it's about to connect us with God. So Bethesda was the place. Bethesda means the healing for us is Spiritism, and the continuation of this work on behalf of Bethesda, on behalf of all these angels that have been inspiring and guiding us. I think this is the purpose. It was not by chance that was the chosen place for this organization that's much more than just paper, but it's made out of people, all the work. And there are so many workers that we could not even say their names, but they are there, they know their names, and they are in our hearts.
And we'll continue the celebration with this push. We have one more friend, very special, who is has the perfect message for us to continue the work, to give us the motivation, right? And we couldn't not have really this message to help us continue together. And we are going to introduce, we need to introduce him, even though a lot of us here have already, we know him really well. Some might not know, and it's worth getting to know him if you have not.
Well, we are going to be introducing to you Divaldo Pereira Franco. And when we have a message from Divaldo, we may be sure that he is there watching. I never forget one day we were with him in Lilydale, and there was some activities taking place, and one of them he couldn't be present in person. He was in his room, remember? And when he came down after the activity, he described everything that happened, including the comments that were made by the people that were participating in that event. So Divaldo Franco, I'm sure he is not only in our hearts, but he's present, he's spiritually every place we are. And he was loving as always, and he sent us a message. So he's, of course, Median, Spiritist that has been living the teachings, not only teaching us, has been giving a psychographic over 250 books. We have so many already translated into English that we can find at Leal Publisher. So let's watch the message from Divaldo and enjoy. It's a celebration, a special celebration for us.
And don't go away, because there's art and children coming soon, I promise.
Queridas irmãs, queridos irmãos, que a paz do Senhor esteja em nossos corações. Neste dia que a Federação Espírita dos Estados Unidos celebra mais um aniversário de fundação, nós, os espíritas militantes, afeiçoados à fraternidade, dirigimos-nos a essa entidade veneranda para oferecer o que há de melhor em nossa alma, como vibrações, ternura e votos de um grande êxito da disseminação da doutrina espírita à luz do Evangelho de Jesus, conforme as diretrizes de Jesus e de Allan Kardec. Recordo-me que depois da Segunda Grande Guerra, a humanidade destroçada começava a sua reconstrução. Havia na Alemanha, e ainda existe, uma cidade de pequeno porte, que na divisão da capital Berlim, com o muro que foi erguido à época, ficou sob a administração dos Estados Unidos. Os soldados ali aquartelados tiveram conhecimento de que aquela cidadezinha era muito famosa graças ao Cristo que tinha na catedral, em uma linda peça trabalhada, com as mãos distendidas, oferecendo carinho e misericórdia às criaturas. Uma bomba, porém, caiu sobre o altar-mor e terminou por atirar ao solo a estátua de mármore de Carrara e despedaçou-a ao máximo. Compreendendo o grande significado dessa manifestação de fé, não só para os residentes da cidade, mas também para o mundo em refazimento, os soldados ali aquartelados resolveram reerguer a igreja ao tempo em que reconstruíam a cidade e principalmente cuidaram de reerguer a valiosa estátua. Depois de procurarem recolher nos escombros todas as partes da admirável escultura, começaram a colocar mãos à obra. E lentamente a igreja era embelezada e estava quase terminando, como também a estátua nas mãos hábeis de escultores italianos e franceses, especialmente contratados, estava chegando ao seu fim. Era imponente. Tratava-se de uma figura do Cristo Jesus, com as mãos distendidas, oferecendo à humanidade o seu inefável amor multimilenar. No entanto, quando ocorreu a queda do monumento, os braços, as mãos espatifaram em partículas tão pequenas que algumas se transformaram em pó. E não foi possível reunir quaisquer pedaços que, unidos, voltassem a formar a ponta dos braços e as mãos. A situação ficou calamitosa. A beleza da estátua era esplendente, mas era necessário inaugurar a catedral. E foi marcada uma data com o senhor bispo ou arcebispo local. Os dias aproximavam-se e nenhum estatuário consultado afirmava possibilidade de reparar aquele dano cruel. Chegou praticamente à véspera, quando um soldado que ficou deficiente, porque perdeu o movimento das pernas, estando na igreja e olhando a linda estátua, teve uma ideia. Pediu que a envolvessem em um branco lençol e deixasse que ele dormisse aquela noite ali ao seu lado, porquanto ele ia solucionar o problema e, no dia seguinte, por ocasião da inauguração, o mundo voltava a ter esse monumento digno de louvor e de grandiosidade de fé. Assim aconteceu. Todos duvidavam. Que poderia fazer aquele homem, ainda mais com dificuldades de movimentos, sem instrumentos hábeis, que pudesse proporcionar, naturalmente, trabalhar 2 outros pedaços de mármore de uma noite para um dia e aplicá-los no lugar devido. Mas não tendo outra alternativa, todos concordaram por unânime que era melhor essa tentativa. E no dia seguinte, pela manhã, antes da inauguração, reuniram-se aqueles membros afetuosos do trabalho, as autoridades eclesiásticas, e descerraram a estátua. Quando o tecido alvo correu pelo mármore brilhante, embaixo estava escrito: eu não tenho outras mãos senão as vossas. Todos ficaram estarrecidos. Não poderia haver melhor solução para o problema de tal natureza. Ao recordar-me desse Cristo sem mãos, cujas mãos eram as nossas na obra da caridade e do amor, eu desejo dizer aos irmãos muito queridos dos Estados Unidos que nesse momento de dificuldade que a humanidade atravessa, nesta hora terrível de padecimentos e angústias, O nosso Cristo elege nossas mãos como sendo as suas para a ação da caridade e a promoção da humanidade em geral. Já somos a sua voz que canta o Evangelho para o mundo aturdido, o seu olhar que contempla a miséria e movimenta recursos para que ela desapareça, os seus pés que andam pelas estradas impérvias da humanidade, abrindo novos caminhos, o seu coração afetuoso que é dedicado ao sentimento de construção da verdade, e agora as suas mãos, unindo-nos, confraternizando-nos, ensinando-nos a trabalhar em nome da solidariedade, a fim de que no momento da nossa caridade base para a nossa perfeição relativa, estarmos em condições de dizer ao nosso próximo que o amamos, embora venhamos a divergir de algumas das suas opiniões. A sociedade necessita muito de luz, mas sobretudo de exemplos. Está cansada de livros, de discursos, mas está aguardando as almas devotadas como Francisco Cândido Xavier, Madre Teresa de Calcutá, Albert Schweitzer, a extraordinária educadora negra americana Mary Jane McCready Bethune, para construirmos juntos com os demais países a fraternidade universal. Parabéns, Federação Espírita Americana, trabalhadores da última hora, cujas mãos realizam a atividade de Jesus e cuja vida dedicada ao Espiritismo são todos o exemplo da dedicação, da fraternidade e do amor em movimento. Um grande abraço de solidariedade do companheiro Divaldo Franco.
Yeah, Jussara, thank you very much for bringing this fantastic and meaningful videos for us with these beautiful messages. And that brings us the United States Spiritist Federation history and also of the United States Spiritist movement. Well, let's continue our celebration, enlightening our hearts and minds and souls with the performance by Malu Portela and Elton Goudin from Anima Spiritism Music and Art. They are multipliers of joy and good messages, holding musical lectures, art events, and producing audiovisual with messages dedicated to the edification of the being. Malu and Elton will be playing two songs created and produced by them, Wave of Life and Seed, followed by the song Heal the World by Michael Jackson. Let's welcome Malu and Elder to the stage with a warm round of applause.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. It's a joy to be here.
It is. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. We are having a wonderful day, and we are so thankful to be here. We are new to the United States. We've been here for only 3 months, and it's a pleasure to be here. We are so happy that we have so many friends that we are making today and that we're going to take for life. Thank you so much for that. So we're going to sing 3 songs to start. And then there's the greatest moment of our event, right? The first song we're going to sing is called Seed. And it's about living together, how it's so important that we are all together and that no one lives alone. We all need each other. We all need to have our hands together and grow and be better each day.
Singing with us and singing with Jesus.
Yes. Right? No one lives alone. We all need to have someone so we can find out that love is life. Now we can feel all the hope of growing up. A little seed of fraternity and peace in each and every heart that exists. Inside with Jesus we go on. No one lives alone. We all need to have someone so we can find that love is life. Now we can feel all the hope of growing up. A little seed of fraternity and peace in each and every heart that exists. Inside Jesus we go on. Peace in every heart that exists. Inside Jesus we go on. Inside Jesus we go on. For our next song, we're going to think about the hard moments we have in our lives. We all have those, right? We have moments that we just don't know what to do. And it's so important to look around and see so many people around us that can help us, that we can count on. And that's what the song is all about. And we invite you all to clap your hands with us. Okay? Let's make this beautiful and wonderful energy here just spread all around the universe with life. What difficulties arise, and we don't know what to do. Therefore, God leads us through
looking for the ones in need of a little affection. Poverty, vibration, hey, now life is bad. It cannot be And now for our last song, we have here a song that we all know. I'll invite you to sing with us. One of the reasons that we are all here together is to heal ourselves and to heal our world, right? So it's very important to heal what's inside so that we can help heal what's outside. So I invite you all to heal the world with us. There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. And this place could be much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry. In this place, you feel there's no hurt or sorrow. There are ways to get there if you care enough for the living. Make a little space, make a better place, heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying if you care enough for the living. Make a better place for you and for me. If you want to know why, there's a love that cannot lie. Love is strong, it only cares about forgiving. If we try, we shall see. In this place we cannot feel fear or dread. We stop existing and start living. Then it feels that always love is enough for us growing. So make a better world. Make a better world. Come on, guys. Heal the world. Make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying if you care enough for the living. Make a better place for you and for me. And we were conceived and we reveal a full face. And the world we once believed in will shine in grace. Then why do we keep struggling life on this earth crucified soul? There's plenty to see, this world is heavenly. Be God's glow. We could try so high. Let our spirits never die. In my heart, I feel you, all my brothers. Create a world with no fear. Together we'll cry tears. See the nations turn their swords into plowshares. We could really get there if you care enough for the living. little space to make a better place. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying if you can't enough for the life, make a place for you and for me. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are people dying if you can't enough for the living, make a better place for you and for me. People dying if you can't for the make a place for you and for me. People dying if you can't enough for the living, make a place for you and for me. You and for me. You and for me. The world we live in, save me from danger. For me. You and for me.
It's okay. Huh? Terminaram, né? Well, thank you very much. That was beautiful. Still with our friends Malu and Helton. Now let's move to a moment of the day that fills our hearts with joy. Throughout the day, many other activities were going on simultaneously. While we were here, our children and teenagers were studying a beautiful program called Together We Grow, designed especially for this event. Let's give our thanks to this beautiful group of Spiritist educators who will present a small piece of work through music. They will be singing a song called Together by Miss Katie, and let's give them love and applause. Woohoo! É.
Stay in the back.
Onde eu fico?
Yes, it's good.
Tá bom. Are you ready, guys? Yeah.
Together, together, we help one another. Together, together, we're stronger than before. Together, together, we learn from each other. Together, together, everyone has the things that we need each day. Together we protect, show up, and care to make our best way. Together, together, we help one another. Together, together, we're stronger than before. Together, together, we learn from each other. Together, we do so much more. Together, we grow what we want. Into together we much more. Together doesn't mean that we need to be the same. We show that we're welcome in all our different ways. Together doesn't mean that we need to be the same. We show that we're welcome in all our different ways. It's our way together, we're stronger than before. Together, each other. Together, we know so much more.
One more applause for them, guys.
Vai ter. Hold on. Yeah. Now, so, thank you guys. You did a great job. You stay here because now you're going to have help because everybody is going to sing. So, thank you very much for participating in the United States Spiritist Federation, this work of love and dedication to disseminate the spirit. Thank you all for coming, right? Like, thank everybody.
Yes.
And now it's time to sing together. Before we sing, don't forget there's cake in the way out. Right? Okay. Let's everybody now sing happy birthday. All right?
Yes.
Okay.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, generation. Happy birthday to you. Parabéns pra você. Muitas felicidades, muitos anos de vida.
Cheers, Federation. Congratulations to everybody that did this work and thank everybody for coming.
Don't forget the cake.
Sorry.
Só mais um aviso. Os pais, por favor, venham pegar... Children here, please, to take the cake. Pode falar também? Então, so spoke both of them.